be tested today. Tom's been under the weather. I feel fine. I'm just exhausted. And I was yelling last night. It was loud in the stadium. It was a good time, man. It's a tough loss. You don't like to lose in the playoffs, of course. But it was a cool atmosphere.
It seemed like they were as charged as they have been in a long time in that building. I know that you've been to games, smattering of games over the years, but just on television, you could tell it had a little bit of different juice to it. Yeah. Tampa doesn't often get that way. For hockey, they do all the time. For football, Ray J can be flat far too often, but it didn't seem that way last night.
No, it wasn't. It was absolutely bonkers, and it was a good atmosphere, and it was a lot of fun. And there's no, it's fun. We kind of both said that's a game they could lose. So I went in with trepidation. I went in suspecting that there was a chance they could lose. And even still, it ends up being somewhat disappointing because you can't fumble the ball on the 12. I mean, I just, you want to summarize things pretty quickly. There's a lot more to a football game than a play. We both know that. There are elements that we could break down. You can't fumble the ball on your 12. You can't.
Well, you also can't on second. And look, there's a lot of problems. You could point everywhere. Also, getting off the field would be nice. Like, I understand there's bend,
fourth and six, third.
Break, there's bend and break, which they did a couple of times too. I mean, it was a team effort last night across the board. You could point to the head coach, you could point to the defense, you could point to the offense, and they found a way to lose by a field goal at the buzzer. That's what leaves you, I think, a little bit hurt is, man, we did all these things wrong, and it came down to a kick at the end of the game that went off the post.
Well, by the time they got to kick the ball, I had already, figured out that we were going to lose the game. When we kicked it to tie it at 20, we just lost. I turned to Matt. I said, it's over. We just lost the game. We're not going to stop Washington from getting in field goal range.
I do not understand. I think Baker went rogue on 2nd and 1. It looked like it was a lead play to Bucky. He kept it himself, and he gets stoned on that play, and that's what leads to the 3rd down. Which gets a little bit more run. But it was the 2nd and 1. Don't keep the ball. Let your guy's on a heater. Give it to 7.
Yeah, well, it's frustrating. You get down there, you have opportunities, and then you have to settle for a field goal. That's the other part of it. You had 2 opportunities. You commit a penalty is another one. I mean, you dumb things can't get lined up.
Right.
You don't get the playoff in time. I mean, come on.
And this is where complimentary football works against you because you only had 7 possessions in the game. 7. I mean, yards per play wise, you're better than Washington by 1.5 yards. You're down on time of possession by 10 minutes, yet you're outgaining them in the late moments of the game. So if he could just get the damn ball, but it was a team loss. I mean, you don't feel cheated today.
No. I wasn't. I think we're having mic issues. Hopefully it's fixed. I don't know. Hopefully something was going on here. People in the chat.
That's yours. Usually yours is muted on the way in, but your computer pulls it, so I had to mute it.
Oh, okay. I see. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, man, it's that team. It's interesting when you watch these playoffs, and I do this all the time. When I kind of look around and you do look at the landscape of a franchise and of the league, and you see in the division, and you kind of say, okay, well, where are we at? Because today, right after that first round of the playoffs, this is what the losing side does. All right, are we on the come? Are we on the downswing of a nice run? Are we somewhere in the middle? Do we have the personnel here, and here? Do we have the right coach? This is what you do. You begin to assess. So today, if you're in Pittsburgh and they look pathetic, that game was a non-starter. I mean, that you have one nice drive. Well, 2 nice drives. I'll give them 2 nice drives. But basically, they're deficient at quarterback. They have been for a long time. Basically, Ben Roethlisberger's last 2 years, he mailed it in. He wasn't any good. And they haven't been good at quarterback since. So that's 7 years? They haven't been good at quarterback in a long time.
You get a real good sense of why people hate Russell Wilson, the quarterback, not the fake leader, right, but the quarterback. And I'm talking about targets, offensive coordinators.
Oh, yeah.
Because on the Prime broadcast, you could have the overhead with the advanced, Amazon, whatever. And you can see where things are open and his eyes aren't where they should be, or he's not trusting himself. And to Herbstreit's credit, he was killing him for his footwork, which has been awful. And he's skipping around like a fearful freshman in college.
And it's weird. Yeah.
It's really weird. But there are things that are open, and when you get to see that overhead view, you go, oh my God, Russ, let it go.
Let it go.
And the receivers after the play
Are
it
furious.
Could be a tight end. It could be Pickens. Everybody picks on George Pickens, and
For good reason.
For good reason. But you have more than just him. You got 3 or 4 players throwing their arms to the sky going, throw the damn ball, and they're putting their hands at him, and he's just off in la-la land. But then he'll go off script and make a brilliant throw, and that's why it's like the drug that you're hooked on.
Yeah, I would tell you that as far as is watching, like, of all the teams that lost this weekend, all right, so our Bucks are one of them. If you're the Steelers, you're asking more serious questions right now. If you're the Chargers, you might be asking more serious questions because Herbert looked terrible in that game. He was awful. I mean, take your breath away awful. Kind of like, what are we out here doing? That was something. Now, in fairness to him, they don't have weapons. He didn't have anybody to throw it to, so maybe you're saying, all right, it's year 1 with Harbaugh. They made the playoffs. That's about the best they were going to do. You got to get that guy some help, I guess. But that was a little alarming. It was just to watch him play that poorly was somewhat surprising.
Well, he threw 3 picks the entire regular season. He threw 4 on Saturday.
Yeah, and they were all pretty bad picks. Like, ooh.
Yeah, there were a couple of near misses too.
Yeah. So then when you do that, you go, okay, well, if you're a Chargers fan, you're kind of assessing that situation. I just mentioned the Steelers, the Bucks, and then obviously I think we'll watch the game tonight. These two franchises are viewing where they're at very differently. I mean, the Rams salvaged having fallen off a cliff and then got another. It's like what Hall of Famers do. You always talk about this. Stafford found another gear. He found that one last, you still have that in you. Okay, I guess they're not done. And obviously ended up with a gem of a find at wide receiver, and all of a sudden you're like, this kid can play. Maybe we won't take this massive step back. They're similar in a weird way to the Bucs, because we thought after Brady was gone, you're going to go through, we're going to have to draft a quarterback and hope like hell we figure something out along the way. And then Baker has a resurgence out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, we're all right at quarterback. We need this, this, and this. So you turn your attention away. But the Packers looked terrible in that game against Philadelphia. Love was awful in that game. I don't know if that's the byproduct of having lost his best weapon, the one that lifts the lid for him, and then also suffering an injury himself. But he was terrible in that game against Philadelphia. That game stunk. That was a bad football game.
I had a feeling about that one.
Yeah, it was just a bad football game. But, there you are. That's you watch that and you go, okay, well, on that scale, I don't feel so bad about where the Bucs are at. They're a pass rush away. I mean, you got to get somebody off the edge with some degree of consistency. Could use somebody else in the secondary, and I'm with you at linebacker. They're fine. They got one really good player, but he's in his 700th year of playing football.
And he just got hurt on the last play. Very Ryan Howard to end the division series-esque.
Yeah, I know. So you root for him because he's been so good, but they're going to have to draft a linebacker, no doubt. So it's a defensive draft. That's what you're saying. When you go into the offseason, you say if you're a Bucs fan, get fat on defense. Offensive line's good. You got a good young tight end. Baker has found a gear he never had anywhere else. All of a sudden, you love your offensive coordinator, who unfortunately just interviewed for the head coaching job with the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is what's about to start happening, is that dude's going to get interviewed for head coaching jobs.
Well, he would be served to come back another year, not just because we selfishly want him to, but he made some mistakes down the stretch that he has to clean up. We got very cute, not just last night.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you throwing to Vita Vea for when he comes in? What are you doing? Now, you're bailed out because you end up getting a legal pick with no call on the Bucky Irving touchdown pass a couple plays later. But you have that. There are more trick plays than you need. And then he got into a bad rhythm against the Saints where you're saying, are you just going to continue to call perimeter screens? What the hell are we doing here? This makes no sense. Last night, too, you can tell the only place, just watching on television, I'm sure you could see it in the stands, the only place Washington was going to stop the run was between the tackles. And yet, the calls over and over again were between the tackles. A couple of times you had perimeter runs, toss sweeps, a couple of counters. I'd love to see the yards per play breakdown. Clearly, perimeter runs were going to be a hell of a lot more successful than the thing that they do best, which is you have Bobby Wagner in the middle and 2 defensive tackles that are very good. And a third one who rotated in, who played, at Clearwater Central Catholic, so he had a good night back home last night. But Liam had a couple of blips down the stretch
late
here,
because he was a genius most of the year.
and it was a very good year. It's an A year. It just went from A+ to A.
Yeah, well, it's funny what happens with guys that really get it humming on offense. You ever notice with coordinators? We see it all the time. We see it with offensive-minded head coaches, and we see it with offensive coordinators in general. When everything you touch turns to gold early, so you have an idea, a genesis of what you think this thing can look like given your personnel. I think he learned pretty quickly Bucky Irving was going to be special, right? So he's, we got us a little extra something here. And he already knew he could throw to the other back all day long because that dude is basically a receiver. And so you had this kind of mix and match situation. Then they ended up oddly finding a third running back who's very good. So they were loaded there. You knew the offensive line was on the come. You got it right at center. So now all of a sudden, you're good at tackle, you're good at center. You're going, okay, we got a little something here. So early on, Tampa, and then Baker starts playing really well. And, if you think about the first half of the season, you have Godwin and Evans. That's a tough matchup, especially with an emerging young receiver who's got speed. So all of a sudden, you're like, there's a lot of weapons here. And I think that as you have success, there's a tendency, you start feeling it, as they say, you're into your bag, and you start doing things you don't have to do just to see. Like, we could do this, we could do that. I've got this guy, this other thing's working too. And you kind of lose your way. I think it's probably very easy to do. It makes you mad when you watch it as a fan, but I bet when you're immersed in it, you probably don't even really realize it.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He can learn that, and if you tighten it up a little bit, you'll get a better offer than Jacksonville soon. You will be the preeminent offensive coordinator in the game if you have another season like you just did. But all that said, to your point of the teams that were eliminated, and Joe Brady would be in that discussion as well, and Monken. It's like those are the three. But Denver and Tampa are in a hopeful place after being eliminated.
Yeah, I think so.
The number one concern for Tampa is the arms race now in the division. It looks like that's coming to life, and so you're going to have to get to 11 or 12.
Yeah, because Penix is going to be for real, it seems to me. And then I think we both agree it does look like, at the very least, the kid I make fun of the most has figured some things out. Now, they're a long ways away still.
Right.
But Bryce Young figured some things out late in the year.
Those two games you play against them, you don't bank on 2-0. So you're going to have to earn those wins elsewhere. So that division's probably 11 or 12. That would be your concern. But if you're Pittsburgh, if you're the Chargers, if you're the Packers, you're kind of staring in the mirror going, I'm not so sure here.
Well, I think that the biggest one is the Steelers, because you're going to be well coached, and you're going to be a playoff contender for as long as Tomlin's there. But lately, that's all you are. Lately, you're playing to be the team that gets their ass beat in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You're becoming that thing that for years went on in Cincinnati, where you'd make the playoff. You're like, yeah, but do we really think they're going to do anything? And it's because they don't have a quarterback.
Well, but then also, their defense gets absolutely waxed in all of these losses. Waxed in their last 5 games. I know they lost 6 in a row, but in their last 5 games, they're averaging giving up over 35 points.
And
it wasn't always against the Mahomes. There's Baker's Browns in there. There's Bortles and the Jags in there in that mix.
Yeah.
No, man, that is a trend that is straight downward.
Well, I think what's weird is they always start the season as sort of the surprise, because you look at their personnel and you go, they're not a great team. They're not going to – I don't think – this is what happens every year. Off season, you look at the personnel and you go, I don't think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. And everybody echoes that. And then halfway through the season, Tomlin's working his magic. They're 7-1, and you're going, I don't know how, but they win every week. They're going to the playoffs, guys. They're going back to the playoffs. And then the same thing happens towards the end of the year. They get exposed a little bit, but they've won enough games prior. They're going to go into the playoffs, and you're like, they ain't going to win a game. They're not beating anybody. They don't. There's nothing there at quarterback. Still nothing. Obviously, there was nothing there with Pickett for 2 years. We all know what Russ is at this point in his career.
I can't believe they didn't go to Fields at halftime. And I get that they led a couple touchdown drives in the second half, and they played it. It was a more equal game in the second half. But Baltimore could play off, and there wasn't that same intensity because they'd built such a large lead. But you needed a spark, and these first and second down runs to Najee Harris and Warren aren't going to cut it.
We do get what we wanted.
Yeah.
We get what we wanted. Now, I would have loved to have seen my Bucks win, but alas, they did not. I'm a grown-up. I can handle it. That wasn't an elite team. Bucs weren't going to win the Super Bowl. I wish we'd won a home game against the team we were favored to beat and should have beaten. We didn't. They have gone to the playoffs 5 straight years. They have won the division 4 straight years. I'll live with it. Now, what I wanted is what everybody should want if you just love football, which is Baltimore-Buffalo. We're going to get it, and it's going to be spectacular. You got those 2 quarterbacks and those 2 franchises who've been wildly consistent, very, very good, both seeking the same thing to try to get past the Chiefs. I suspect, as I sit here today, and I'm probably going to have to eat my words, the winner of that game is coming out of the AFC. I think they're going to beat the Chiefs. The winner of that game will beat the Chiefs, is what I tend to believe as I sit here this afternoon with you.
Yeah, well, they both have a style of play, and it doesn't matter the situation, how loud the building is. This is Baltimore's AFC to lose, I think. I understand why.
Tough task to go on the road, though.
It is. I understand why if somebody picks Buffalo, they would. I mean, Allen's been otherworldly, and that's fair. But it's just the weaponry for Baltimore is at a level that it's not for Buffalo.
That's correct.
And then their defense has been the best in football the last 8-9 weeks. Now, it doesn't. They've been getting fat on some bad offenses, but still, they weren't stopping anybody to start the season. So the changes they've made have helped. They're the most complete football team. But I tend to agree with you. They could. I mean, it's the NFL, and Buffalo could easily win the game themselves. It's just this is going to be old school. You remember the 2012 Alabama-Georgia SEC championship game that was just both teams deciding to ground and pound? I think we're about to get that. We're about to get that in the NFL for a chance to go to Kansas City and go play for a Super Bowl.
2 nightmarish scenarios if you're a defender. I mean, to have to deal with either one of these offenses, you're like, come on, man. Especially that Baltimore offense. You're right. If this game were in Baltimore, you'd lean heavily towards Baltimore. Derrick Henry looks like he's just drinking from the fountain of youth. He looks more spry now than he did earlier, even this season.
Now, there's your point about a Hall of Famer having a second burst.
It's crazy, man. That guy, good God. By the way, when we were talking about the Chargers a moment ago, I failed to bring it up. Ladd McConkey had almost 200 yards receiving.
He set a rookie record.
Cracked me up. I was like, look at my man Ladd. Took the over on Ladd going to that playoff game.
Wasn't his fault.
That's every week. They got to get some other weapons around him, though, man. Goodness gracious. LoansForKnowles.com, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. My man Shannon Young, hard worker for you. Very good at his job. Intelligent. He's going to make it happen for you. Realize that dream. Falling interest rates, you got a chance to perhaps, if you want, pay off those high interest rates and get some home improvements and improve your credit, save some money along the way. Shannon can show you how to do that. He'll also give you an opportunity to purchase that dream home. Shannon Young, LoansForKnowles.com.
And I've been a Paul's Termite technician for well over 10 years. Working for a great company like Paul's Termite and Pest Control is a blessing for my family and myself. I get tremendous satisfaction knowing that the work I do helps protect most people's biggest investment, their homes, the place where they raise their families and build lifelong relationships. Paul's is a company that stands behind their commitments to customers and employees, and that makes me proud to represent them.
I'm Jay. Having the privilege to work with people like Franklin and all of our employees is truly an honor. There is no doubt that the staff of Paul's Termite and Pest Control is the best in our industry. All of our people are local, and local really does mean something. We are North Floridians. Our kids go to school here. We shop here. We build relationships here, and we honor our commitments. To all of our customers, thanks for trusting us to protect your family, pets, and home.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too, call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Every journey starts with a first step, a daring step. But what they don't say about first steps is that you have to keep going, taking step after step, and eventually you take a big leap, accomplishing more than you ever thought possible. After 57 years, Tallahassee Community College is soaring even higher. And we're now officially Tallahassee State College. We invite you to take a step and visit Tallahassee State College. Learn more at tsc.fl.edu.
Listen to what people are saying about ACL Home Inspections.
They took the time to explain every detail, providing clear insights and answering all of my questions.
I needed an inspection quickly. ACL scheduled me within 24 hours, and the inspector was able to arrive early. That was a huge bonus, and my 2 dogs absolutely adore him.
ACL Home Inspections will accompany you on a walkthrough inspection of the home you want to buy, then provide you with an easy-to-read digital report the same day. For homeowners planning to list their house on the market before putting it up for sale, ACL will provide you a pre-listing inspection.
As a very analytical person, I want to see all the details and ask questions. I interviewed 3 home inspection companies and was very impressed by ACL.
See for yourself what people are saying. Search ACL Home Inspections and find out more at aclhomeinspections.com or call 850-312-8919. 850-312-8919.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I successfully avoided having to talk too much about this basketball team, which fell on its face while the weekend played out. Noles a no-show against Clemson, losing 77-57. It was an ass-kicking. Really didn't show up, didn't stop Clemson from doing much, didn't get much out of their – well, really, if you think about their depth, but Florida State, the problem here isn't that you just went on the road to the Little John, get a quality win at all. It's not just that you allowed Clemson to shoot from beyond the arc at an alarming rate, and Florida State, of course, 4 of 16 for their part from beyond the arc, and the backcourt, Clemson's backcourt, that is, outscoring Florida State's guards, Tom, 56-14. That will hurt your feelings.
Well, they put it on overdrive in the second half. You were in touch for the first 12, 15 minutes of the game.
Yes.
And then
only down 7.5, right?
Hmm?
Only down 7.5, right?
Yeah.
And then start the second half and they get boat raced.
You needed a little rally to get it back to 7 towards the break. It's just you're going to continually give up open looks and rotation issues and all that kind of stuff. This is if a team's going to bury him, you're going to get buried, and that's what happened.
Well, it sucks for us. They struggle with guards, really good guards, because they're going to play a team on Wednesday in Pitt that's guard oriented, and they only have a 7-man rotation, but they've got 2 volume scorers in the backcourt and the low kid and the legged kid. So we shall see. Florida State 0-5 in quad 1, quad 2 games. Haven't won nary a one. Nary a one. And it's just fun to say nary. Pitt comes in with a net of 27. This would be a good time to win a home basketball game at the TLC-CC, where famously you do not just roll on in and expect to walk away from victory. I haven't been able to say the phrase, that one in particular, in some time with any conviction, Tom, because it wasn't true. And it was originally said by me at a time where that was the joke. People did roll on in to the TLC Double C expecting to get a victory, and that's why I made fun of us. And then it became a thing where you could not. And now we've lasted long enough on these airwaves where, once again, it's the punchline. We're the punchline. You can roll on in to the TLC Double C and expect, most assuredly, to get a win. Will they on Wednesday shake the Ophir in quad 1, quad 2 games? They need one desperately if you're going to make the ding-ding, which is where we're at right now as a candidate. We're not a tournament team. We're an NIT team. Maybe. Fighting for the bid to the ding-ding that nobody cares about. I got it. Got to document it. It's where we're at. Florida State is 71st, if you're wondering at home, in the net.
Documented.
71st. So we'll see what happens from here. But if you're going to salvage something of a season, it's got to start on Wednesday against a Pitt team that will be favored to come in here and win. You would think Ham will have their attention, given the fact that that's a 20-point ass beating that you were on the other end of. We don't seemingly ever play well there at the Little John. I hate going there. I loathe it.
New or old.
Correct.
Yeah.
Hamilton all time there is 6-17.
I don't really remember the other 5 other than the quality win on the road.
Yeah. It's spread out. It was probably from a couple of those really good teams we had where you were able to, in back-to-back years, or, found a way to put it together. But that doesn't seem likely. I'm slightly saddened by it.
Just counting down the days till baseball.
Tonight you got football, buddy. You gonna watch tonight? It could be a good game. Those two teams played already this year, and the Rams won.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that game. I'm just speaking specifically about Florida State.
Yeah.
I'm seeing all these releases from both baseball and softball preseason top 10 for both teams, preseason pitcher of the year, what preseason All-Americans might there be. You're looking at the schedule, and then FSU golf got some good news yesterday where they had 2 players in a playoff going against each other for individual honors at the Jones Cup, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so I'm looking around. I'm not
starting to dalliance elsewhere.
I'm not looking at Pitt and their half-court offensive statistics. I'm looking around. I'm shopping.
Well, I want to. I'm looking for an excuse to dive into Florida State basketball because I have praised them for playing hard. Now, this was a eminently more likable team than last year's team and the year before's team, right? We kind of like this group a little bit. They're lacking in some key areas, but we like them. And their best game can give you fits when they're able to run their half-court offense the way they want. But Clemson controlled tempo, and so that was that. But if they are able to do it, they can be a pest. And they do play hard, but that was a stinker of an effort in the second half of that game. And so that's in particularly, that's a bitter pill to swallow. Just when you want to jump in, you can't jump in when that happens. And now if they turn around and get boat raced on Wednesday, any interest you had on the fringes from the fan base will be lost.
No, then you start to look and say to yourself, so is Cam Leiter actually going to pitch this year? Because Florida State did put him on a social media graphic of theirs this past week. That's the thing I think about. What is 6, 7, 8 in the order going to look like? It's funny, that really wasn't the case at all. I would never have cared at that level in January 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago because it was always about the destination and not the journey. I'm in on the journey with Link.
Oh, I don't know how we couldn't be. I mean, that was the biggest shot in the arm a year ago. That was so much fun to see. We felt like we were back in our rightful place, an elite program, treated as such, viewed as such, playing like such. And you knew then that this was a team that knew how to win baseball games. They did a lot of things right. They also had a ton of offensive firepower, so they were fun to watch because, good Lord, that was a deep, deep, deep lineup. You got power from all over the lineup. It's all fields. So you really realize that it was a thrilling product to go along with playing the right way. You marry those two things, okay. All right, let's go. And you're right. I think it's a sustainable, force here, Florida State baseball. So I'm with you on that. I don't listen. They're not going to be as good as they were offensively last year. That would be impossible to match.
And if they are, they're going to win the College World Series. Get uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but they're not.
What's funny about Jamie Arnold being what he is, and the way he's being talked about, to me, is that I feel that's not the right way to say it. I was going to say I feel for him. There's no, if you don't dominate people.
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you go out and give up 2 runs in 5 2/3, people are like, Yankee ass start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
It's the burden of excellence.
It is the burden of that level of excellence. That's not like, oh, he's really good in the ACC. Oh, he's a good college pitcher. No, like, people talk about him maybe getting drafted first overall.
It's playing Charleston Southern at the height of our power as a program, and the final being 52-17. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Didn't play well.
17.
How's wrong with us? 17 points in that game.
Come on now.
That's what it's going to be. Like, it's the weight of that on every. Hopefully, he doesn't feel that. We'll feel the weight of those expectations for him almost when we go into that stadium.
Well, that's where, when you have a little something to you, a little sandpaper to your attitude, I think it takes some of that pressure off, because then people feed into it. It's not they're uptight for expectations. If they see you lose your mind when you strike out the side, they're like, oh, okay, all right.
And the norms have changed in college baseball in general.
Too much, but yeah.
I know. That's the only time you sound really old regarding players' celebrations. We are over the top. And Link, has to swallow his words. He hates it. But what do you do? It's every team in the country now.
Yeah.
Every team in the country's got you get it. It's mimicry. It's what they saw, and there you go.
Yeah. It's just, can we put a rule in there that if it's before the 6th inning and the bags aren't loaded, that you can't do it? Because you'll strike out the side and you'll see a guy do a hop, skip, and a jump and then moonwalk his way like Frank Drebin when he's the home plate umpire.
Yeah. Well, we had a stretch there a while ago where we're yelling at the other team's players.
It's Stetson. What are we doing?
You're going to win this game 11-2.
Right.
There's no reason.
Yeah, yelling in the other dugouts.
Yeah,
we did that about a bunch this year.
No reason.
No reason.
No. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
4 people were involved and at least 2 were hurt after a multi-vehicle crash along Crawfordville Highway in Trumpet Lane Tuesday afternoon, according to a spokesperson from Florida Highway Patrol. A Volvo, Nissan, Ford F-250, and Lexus were involved in the crash. FHP said at least 1 vehicle rolled over during the crash. At least 2 people were hospitalized following the crash, with 1 in critical condition but stable as of Tuesday evening. It is currently unclear what caused the crash. It is under investigation. Severe damage was left to a home on Government Farm Road Tuesday afternoon in Jefferson County after the kitchen caught fire. The incident unfolded around noon. Firefighters responded to the home on Government Farm Road and found heavy smoke. The fire was contained to the kitchen. However, the home sustained smoke and heat damage throughout the residence. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by McLemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Frobley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies expected with fog in spots early this afternoon with a chance of rain showers. High temperatures reach up to 47, northeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 36. Tonight, clear skies. Daytime highs approaching 56. Tomorrow, mainly sunny skies. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 44.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have new state-of-the-art roll formers that produce the highest quality Versa panel, PBR panel, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business, ready to offer you the best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today, 850-536-9123, or visit us online at metalroofingSales.net.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti, right?
Yeah,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And,
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com multimedia network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
How many people had anytime touchdown for Saquon Barkley?
Ooh, yeah.
This guy might have had an anytime touchdown to go along with a parlay that would have hit had he not slid. I had Jaden Daniels over 235 yards passing. I had Baker Mayfield over 18 yards rushing. That's a check. I had Mike Evans over 75 yards receiving. Check. And then I had anytime touchdown Saquon Barkley.
That's a toughie.
I don't bring up a ton of bad beats on the show. I don't burden you guys with that. But when it's a breakaway touchdown slide, I feel the need to bring it to the table.
Yeah.
Because I hit on everything else.
I had Rashad Bateman over 3.5 catches with no Zay Flowers. Didn't need it. Yeah, didn't need it. They'll even spot him a touchdown, but no need. Why? Why would we ever throw to him more than 3.5? We don't need to. We're just going to run it right at you, and you're not going to stop us.
Well, something that is really interesting happened, and this makes me think about NIL, oddly. Makes me think about the power of an athlete's endorsement. And I don't know if you guys saw the story, but A.J. Brown was bored during Philadelphia's win, and he took to reading a self-help book. And he's in the middle of it, clearly. If you see the footage of him reading the book, he's halfway through this book. It is it is a gift to the author that he did so. Listen to this story. So he's reading a book called Inner Excellence. It's by a guy named Jim Murphy. All right. It's a self-help book. And it's prior to the game in which A.J. Brown is seen reading the book, selling very little. Most people don't know about said book. It's not one of the in books right now on self-help. This isn't one of those things where everybody's read that, right? Like back in the day when relationship advice was such a big thing. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus type stuff. Everybody knew of that book. It was a New York Times bestseller, right? This isn't one of those, except for it is today because people wanted to know what he was reading. And that book went from fairly non-existent to #1 on Amazon's bestsellers list as of this morning. How about that? The author of this article was able to reach out to Mr. Murphy and said, what do you think? AP calling Murphy to say, did you know you had the #1 book in the land? No, I certainly wasn't expecting that. It's quite the gift. I looked at Amazon last night. #1. That was a surprise. It had never been above 9,000.
Oh, wow. Holy smokes. That guy better at least buy a jersey.
So think about it. That guy, who's a really good receiver, everybody knows who A.J. Brown is, but he's in an offense that doesn't throw it around a ton, to the point where he had a problem with his quarterback halfway through this season and told him so publicly via the press, is a popular receiver, but not a superstar in the way that others are in this league. That guy, during a playoff game, picks up a book gets caught on camera reading it, and that author's life has changed forever. And so you wonder which athlete has that, which athletes in college have that sort of power. Think about that. That's amazing. You wonder, like, because we had this discussion a week ago. Whoever this group is that's supposed to decide on the value of an endorsement of an NIL deal, like, who could have guessed that? This is an example of what we're talking about. Like, hey, did you know if A.J. Brown picks up a book, this little unknown self-help book on the sideline, he's going to make that author perhaps a millionaire? That's a hell of a lot of influence.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's kicking himself because he could have at some point authored under an assumed name a book with tips on leadership, and he would have.
Oh, yes.
Today he's thinking, oh my God, it was so obvious. How did I not understand? The Key to Being Unlimited by Wilson Russell. There you go. And he's reading it on the sidelines. I always know when the cameras are on me. Why have I not thought of holding a book? What you're going to see now is people copycatting this and trying to catch a piece of the action.
Well, this gets it even better. I needed to go down a few paragraphs because I buried something here I shouldn't have. That was the author to the AP saying that he had never been anywhere above 9,000s. In the thousands somewhere, he went on to say, oh, no, sir, that book was 523,497th. You're right. You weren't near 9,000. That would be nice. At 523,497th, who's keeping track of that? What? That'd be an a-holic move to tell somebody, hey, Jim, saw you wrote a book. It's currently in the millions in rankings. Holy moly. Good for that guy, man. Good for that guy.
Hey, Rick, what'd you shoot today? Oh, I was okay, 91. No, I followed you, Rick, and I want everybody to know, everybody in this 19th hole bar, you shot 124.
Yes, it was not 91.
No, it was 124, Rick. I followed you.
So this guy, I mean, look, he's a former minor league outfielder for the Chicago Cubs organization. He said his phone started blowing up. He started getting texts left and right. He did not expect any of this. Murphy, after his career ended, became intrigued by the idea of learning how to teach baseball players how to have more confidence under pressure. So he went all in on research. And that's what became the book, Inner Excellence, is all of those years of researching to find out what it takes to do that. I spent 5 years full-time researching and writing to try to answer the question. That's what became the book, Inner Excellence. He did not expect that, A, this was going to happen in a playoff game, and B, that A.J. Brown would be the reason that it kick-started. Man, every author under the sun now is going to be going up to players.
Yeah, everybody's going to want a piece of the action here. I'm going to call BS on that unless this man is independently wealthy. This reeks to me of Kirk Street 10 to 15 live football games a week nonsense.
So you think he contacted A.J. Brown?
No. I'm just saying he says I worked 5 years full-time on it. Really? Boy, you must have had a lot of money in the old checking account if you worked full-time on this concept over the course of 5 years. If it was your hobby and your passion,
well, I wonder. I don't know. Maybe the wording there is a little off. Kind of like 9,000.
Yeah, like right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. 10 to 15 live football games. Really?
What would you consider somebody working full time? I know 40-hour work week. I got you, but I'm saying if every day we got off the air and you went to the library or whatever and found source material, you were researching something diligently, and you spent 2 hours, 3 hours every day after the show doing that.
Yeah.
And then another hour before you went to bed at night, writing a chapter or a paragraph or something to trying to perfect that day's information and how it fits in the big scheme of things. What would you consider that?
Halo in my 20s is what it sounds like. My spare time, that's all my spare. Full time means I am, instead of doing a job, that gives me a salary.
I just was trying to help the guy out. I was trying to give him a little.
He's fine.
Oh, he's going to be okay.
This is my life's work. Is it?
Man. If I score a touchdown or drop a pass, it's something how I refocus. I always revert back to the beginning of the book. It states that if you can just have a clear mind and remember that nothing else matters, clear conscience, nothing matters negative or positive, you're willing to take risks. It also says if you're humble, you can't be embarrassed. Well, he's just selling the hell out of this book. I mean, every time he gets asked, he's quoting from it. He's got it. Man, kind of a cool story, though. That made me laugh because I did see him on the sideline reading, and I thought, well, that's peculiar.
It seemed like it was what a lot of people thought it was, which is a protest, a form of protest. I mean, if you're not going to throw me the ball, I'm just going to sit here and read this book. That's how people took it initially. I guess we're just going to run the ball. I'm going to bring it out with me to the field.
Here's the thing, though, man. Like, the Eagles are built in such a way that you could win the whole thing playing that way.
Oh, yeah, as long as Hurts doesn't get concussed again. Yeah,
right. Like
100%.
you could win the whole thing playing that way. I don't think they will, but they could. Like, that style is difficult to deal with. They're incredibly physical. Their defense is very good. And you've got a monster who squats 9,000 pounds at quarterback that anything close to 1.5 yards, they're going to get 2 yards just by doing the push. Like they could possess the ball forever.
Yeah, it's 1st and 8.5.
Yeah. And when they come up to listen, you have an elite running back, you have a running back playing quarterback. And I don't say that as the age-old knock. I'm saying he's physically built like a running back. He's a monster, and he can really run when he chooses to. And when he does, statistically speaking, when he runs more than 10 times a game, they're infinitely better if you look at win percentage. So you don't get many possessions. You don't get the ball. So if they're facing a high-powered offense, they have the ingredients to keep the ball out of Lamar's hands, to keep the ball out of Patrick's hands, to keep the ball out of Allen's hands.
Well, and if it's Allen or Lamar in their offense, they're not exactly trying to run 80 plays either. So
right.
You could have, shortened possessions galore here down the stretch. I just looked up A.J. Brown's numbers. He is one of the more unheralded but extremely productive receivers.
He's a stud.
Yeah. You play for Tennessee and Philadelphia. And look, there's a lot of winning seasons in that mix, but you're talking about offensive firepower and quarterback play. And he's averaging about 1,200 yards a year.
Had over 1,000 this year in an offense that doesn't really throw it.
Right. Missed 3 games, too, and did that. But the previous 2 years in Philly, he nearly had 1,500 yards both those seasons. He was over 1,000 yards twice in Tennessee out of 3 years. The other year, he was injured for a few games. Just super productive in offenses that don't lend themselves to breaking records like a Cincinnati's offense or Minnesota's offense.
Yeah, he only had 67 catches. And again, partly because he missed some time, like you said. But he has protested earlier this year. This is an age-old question that you get. Like, I wonder, I can make this applicable to Florida State. What Florida State's about to try to do is what Philadelphia is doing.
Yeah.
And so...
Except if we get to 4th and 1, we got to find something else.
Yeah. I'm telling you now, this is going to be fascinating because you can have an elite receiver in an offense like that, but not many. You're going to have a go-to guy when you have a gotcha moment, sort of, who makes big plays. We suspect that's going to be Deuce Robinson for us this year, right? You can maybe have a secondary receiver. I mean, listen, if you owned Smith in Fantasy League this year, you're pissed. Dude will have himself a catch for 22 yards and call it a day with the quickness because they don't throw it a ton. And I wonder our ability, we get mad all the time just thinking about how few receivers we produce to the league. Well, get ready. We're going to produce even fewer. That's going to be a hard thing on the recruiting trail.
It will be. You want it to get to a place where we're successful and we're complaining about that rather than just asking for competence. But I hear you. Yes, it's going to be, that's a tough sell. Now, he has had productive receivers in the past in terms of total yardage and catches because, again, you have to sell out to stop the run, ideally. And so you're going to get a lot of explosives. And that's enough to get you paid the next level if you're deemed to be an explosive play machine at receiver. But you're right. It's a stretch. It's not the same thing as being in a 4-wide offense where you're saying, well, we're going to throw the ball 40 times a game. The thing that I'm fascinated by is in the NFL, you could see that there's an evolution to the whole quarterback brotherly shove, tush push thing where now tight ends are being used to run
Tight
that
ends
play.
are used all the time.
Backup quarterbacks
Running
come
backs
in.
can do it. Yes.
Yeah. Who's our guy? Is that Cam Davis? Who's it going to be? Because I would hope we adopt that. I like the idea of being in 1st and 8.5, and you got 3 downs to get 8.5 yards before you have an automatic play.
I will tell you, I do not. First of all, I hate the rule that allows. I mean, you remember this goes all the way back to Reggie Bush at USC against Notre Dame, and the Bush push, as it was known
2005.
then. Yes, it's nonsense. I don't think it's good for the game. I don't think I don't think it should be part of the game. I don't think it's what's intended. It's against the spirit of it. No, I hate it. I wish they would go back to enforcing the rules on this and go back to saying, no, it's a penalty. It used to be a penalty. But
yeah, you want to call a sneak? Call a sneak. That's fine.
Yeah, you can do a sneak. But they don't, and it's legal, so they're not doing anything wrong. They don't. That's no longer a penalty. It used to be. So until they decide it is, you do need to have it in your bag. And you're right. Who is our guy? Well, you've got choices, though. I mean, it's not like they're lacking athletes with size over there.
Yeah, agreed. I think Cam's the obvious choice because he was a quarterback.
Cam's the obvious choice. You are 100% correct. But, I mean, any very sizable athlete who has some real leg strength can do that. I mean, it's not.
Yeah. It's for the exchange purposes.
Yeah.
I'm
always blown away by that. I know we got a good break. We got hour number 2 forthcoming. I'm always blown away by I was never a center. I was never a quarterback, so I don't know. But it seems to me it shouldn't be that hard to be able to take a snap. Just take a snap.
Well, you also got to time it right. Tampa.
Yeah. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV. Fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas. Brought to you by Palmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee.
College football playoff championship game is set for Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, January the 20th. Ohio State will meet Notre Dame. The Buckeyes open as 9.5-point favorites, total 45.5. Ohio State beat Texas 28-14 at the Cotton Bowl Classic as a 6-point favorite. State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona will host an NFC wildcard game. Rams and the Vikings. Game moved from SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles due to the wildfires in L.A. Vikings went from a 1.5 to a 2.5-point favorite on the change of venue. Lions plus 295 to win the Super Bowls. The playoffs get underway. $250 bonus and you open up a GBank Visa signature card. Visa.com/GBank. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Anywhere else, Tuesday is just, well, Tuesday. But if you're at KFC, Tuesday is $10 Tuesday, which means you can get 8 juicy drums and thighs for just $10. Let me say that again. 8 pieces of hot, juicy, original recipe chicken, hand-breaded in 11 herbs and spices, all for just $10 every Tuesday, only at KFC. Guess Tuesday isn't just Tuesday anymore. It's finger-licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Tax, tips, and fees extra.
IBM will become the official global partner of UFC, the world's premier mixed martial arts organization. Together, IBM and UFC are pioneering a product to revolutionize analytics and information in live sports. This includes unique insights and advanced analysis of live bouts, fighter tendencies, projections of possible outcomes, and method of victory, all of which will be engineered to update in real-time on-screen data. This partnership marks a pivotal win, not only for UFC and IBM, but also for fans around the world who will experience the sport in a whole new way. Sponsored by IBM.
Our New Year's resolution is to help you upgrade to true luxury. So we put a bonus on the all-new 2025 QX80. If you drive any competitor's luxury vehicle, you can get $3,000 cash. Experience true luxury driving. Infiniti of Tallahassee.
Your body is a masterpiece designed to heal itself from within. Learn how to maximize your health by tuning in to Phenomenal Health with me, Dr. Ryan Finn. Saturdays at 2:30. Experience true health today and call Finn Chiropractic at 386-7700.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I will tell you the trek back from Tampa, Tom, early morning drive this morning, early morning to make sure I was back in plenty of time to do what prep was necessary, but also I just knew it was going to be a beleaguered version of me today because it's tiring. You don't get that game was a late kickoff.
Yeah. Yep.
Getting back to the hotel around midnight, I thought, okay, going to work on the old 4 or 5 hours of sleep and get this thing turned around. But I can't believe the smooth transition from Tampa to Tallahassee. It never happens. I always encounter something ridiculous, usually in Ocala. Nothing. Straight through. Plenty of rain, but that's it.
Well, judging by the time I talked to you on the phone this morning, when I got you on the phone, you had passed Ocala before 8.
Yeah, it was pretty early. Yeah, it was pretty early.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That is the key. Ocala is the McDonough of Florida.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I had plenty of time to ponder what last night's game means or doesn't mean. Plenty of time to ponder our upcoming season in the spring and all that stuff. Plenty of time to think about really all aspects of it. You know what I read? Not while I was driving.
You sound like Mike there. All aspects is one of his verbal fillers, and I just realized that for the first time. He says all aspects. All
Mike
time.
does? Yeah. Well, every coach has got one. All aspects is not so bad, as opposed to say, But Carson Beck got just over $3 million to go play quarterback at Miami, which is just about double $1.6 million they gave Cam Ward from the collective a year ago. So they're ponying up each time. That got me to wondering, what'd you have to pay Castellanos to get him here? $100? I mean, like, if you think about the market, I'm not trying to take shots. It sounds like
no, I think you are.
Well, no. I'm merely speaking on the value of players. What you'd have to pay somebody to come. I mean, like, look, Carson Beck.
Man, if he cost $100, then we should have won every transfer portal recruiting battle we had for all other positions.
I know it's more than $100, but
one of them.
I'm just questioning why. I'm wondering what would you
cash off the books.
Off the books.
Keeping it off the books here.
Like, what do you think Miller Moss got to go to Louisville from Southern Cal?
More than Castellanos got to come here.
Yeah, yes, of course. Yes.
You know, I don't know if they're accurate at all, but the on-3 NIL valuation for Castellanos is around 600 and change.
God, dog.
That would be cheaper than DJU was, if that's the case. Yeah, right.
What about the Salter kid? What did he get to go to Colorado? We know that number?
No, but apparently the kid who went to Duke, what the hell is that kid's name? He was a hot commodity. He got paid a lot. Multi-millions.
Oh, Darion Mensah.
Mensah.
Yeah, the Mensah kid. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Apparently that was a lucrative NIL investment.
He was really good at Tulane.
Yeah.
And then he went to Duke, and yeah.
I think it's multi-mil per year was the report.
6'3", 200+ pounds. Is a redshirt freshman, so
that helps.
It helps you got him for multiple years. I just was kind of wondering because like the Michael Van Buren kid went from Mississippi State to LSU. He's also a freshman. I'm trying to think of the list of guys that I had when I was researching this. I mean, there's some people we don't know of. I mean, we know Luke Kromenhoek obviously went to Mississippi State from Florida State.
Great move.
By the way, You think he's getting paid more to go to Mississippi State than Castellanos is getting paid to come to Florida State?
I think Castellanos is getting paid less than Kromenhoek wanted to be paid to be here. That's my belief. And so therefore, if you think about it that way, you're reshuffling your depth chart, you're saving some money in the quarterback room.
Well, and you've got a guy who fits in this offense. I mean, you're bringing him in.
A guy who's a project.
Yeah.
He was a project, unfortunately. Could have turned out to be pretty good here for us, but, what are you going to do?
Connor Wegman transferred again. Left A&M, went to Houston. Wonder what he got paid.
Where's Milroe going to go? Who's still looking? Because I wonder what he would command. You have to have different suitors to command a market for yourself. That's the other part to this.
Jackson Arnold was not good at Oklahoma. Admittedly, he had every one of his weapons taken away. I mean, they lost 5 starting receivers. That's pretty hard to do in a singular season. But he went to Auburn, and they pay. What do you think he got to go to Auburn? A lot more than Castellanos? I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I think so, yeah.
Again, I'm just, golly, it strikes me as where we're headed, where this is all going. Carson Beck gets $3+ million to go play quarterback at Miami. Now, he's a proven commodity when he's healthy and when he's good, and he can be really good. When he's good, he looks like an NFL quarterback. And that system will be fine for him. That's, whereas I don't know. I just don't want to be stuck paying people $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 that are marginal quarterbacks. Like, that just seems insane to me.
Yeah, but if the going rate these days, I mean, this is what is the baseline value of a starting quarterback at a high level power institution? I mean, you're going to be spending that on somebody.
Yeah, what a time! What a time to be a kid, that can play big time college football. I mean, good for you. I don't resent it. When I think about how much we have to spend and how to allocate that money, that's when I start kind of doing the math. Like, we pay close to $1 million for a guy that's pretty average ass quarterback.
Yeah, I think you're right. The place we're in, I think that's the going rate. Well, if you're the quarterback, I mean, it's not the same thing as a wholly average right guard.
Right.
Although we would pay a lot for that right now. I think we would pay more than he would get at the current place he's enrolled at. Tony pointed out in the chat, he's right, that Milroe declared for the draft. I just feel like that's a Darrell Jackson or Carson Beck situation where they might declare or think about the NFL and speak openly about the NFL, but then realize there might be some more money in coming back to college football. But we'll see. He could stick it out and go the distance.
Well, he'll benefit from the fact that somebody will fall in love with the measurables. He'll go get prodded and poked on and pushed and all the stuff that they do at the combine, right? The meat market that is, and they'll say, this guy is massive. And he does have a cannon for an arm. He is a bigger version, right, of Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I think if you were going to, oversimplify it, if you're Philadelphia, you'd spend a mid-round pick on him because you already have the offense in the factory for it.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing, is that guys who have been average to below average throwers of the football have, emerged and gone to a place where they've revamped the offenses and then allowed for them to become better passers over time.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, there's nothing more impressive in my mind than Lamar Jackson's transformation, like what he is as a passer. It's unbelievable. He deserves all the credit in the world. And if I have not said that, I should, because he's awesome. He's fun to watch. And he's got a lot of weight on his shoulders, as does Josh Allen. Really, all these guys trying to catch up to Patrick Mahomes and wrestle away the AFC's top notch, right? To be that team. It's tough to do. But you have to be able to do both. And, I do like, because it makes for a less bland product. I do love that the NFL finally adapted and said, okay, well, there's a lot of different ways to run an offense, a lot of different ways to beat you. In the past, it was statues only. 6'5", 240, big arm, stand tall in the pocket. The drop back game is everything. Now that's not the case. It's nice that you can do it when we have to, and that's another reason that Jaden Daniels has hit the league by storm, because the kind of passer he became even in college, you could not have posited that when he left Arizona State, that guy was going to become the version that we see now. And I voted for him to be, I betted on him, I should say. I bet on him to be the rookie of the year because of what we saw in the second half of his career at LSU. It was unreal. And he's hit the league, obviously, hit the ground running. He looks great.
He's just so damn calm. That's the thing that stands out about him this early in his career. Like, he took a shot early in the game
on the sideline. Woo!
I'm glad it happened. It was late, and you could have rightfully thrown a flag because his foot was on the white for a tick there.
They did the right thing.
I agree, but it could have been all those things where you say, well, you have to call it. He gets up, he's smiling. He's unaffected by that moment.
Yeah, because it didn't hurt him. I mean, that's the thing you worry about if you're a Washington fan, though. One of those will.
One of those will, but I also like that the guy doesn't get flummoxed by how dare you have the audacity to hit me, because some quarterbacks have that where they get put on tilt because somebody breathed on them the wrong way. Man, it's just he's got all those right levers and buttons pushed and pulled right now, and that's what you're looking for is if you're an NFL franchise and you see somebody who was like Daniels raw, you now have multiple data points where you can say, I can turn him into all pro. I can turn him into a pro bowler, because it's not just Lamar. It's not just what Daniels was in college. Jalen Hurts is more than we ever thought he was going to be. We thought it was a complete gimmick, and it's more than that. Is he Lamar Jackson's success story? No, but that's a viable offense. That's a real thing, and you have to account for it, and they were couple plays away from winning a Super Bowl with him a couple of years ago.
And in that particular game, he threw the ball exceptionally well, better than he really ever has.
Yep.
Well, you could apply the same thing to Josh Allen.
100%.
I mean, nobody thought when he was coming out of Wyoming that we were going to see the kind of passer he is. They knew he was a physical freak. All the guys we just mentioned are pretty close to being called, rightfully so, physical freaks. When you're talking about 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", can really run, very elusive. Most all the guys you just mentioned have big arms. Now, they weren't always accurate, and that was Josh Allen's problem. He wasn't accurate at Wyoming. That's in college, if you can't hit 60% of your completion percentage, you got a problem. I mean, guys run wide open in college football.
And
well,
that's
in other places they do, but anyhow, they do.
The first time he popped up on my radar was fantasy, because if you had a guy on a bye week, you go grab him, he gets you a rushing touchdown as a quarterback. You know, like that's all he was. Like, he's just a guy who's going to score a rushing touchdown. But you know what? That counts, and those yards are helpful. But then you start to watch him, and you go, "Whoa, wait a minute! If he can just be a little bit more accurate here or there, if he can make better decisions, and then it all happens." That's why there's a nice symmetry to this matchup in multiple ways this Sunday.
Yeah,
between Buffalo and Baltimore.
Yeah, very similar. Very similar. Something that I think is interesting is he's the guy. Josh Allen is the guy to use for the discussion about accuracy concerns. Like when you watch Jordan Love, he's inaccurate. He's frequently inaccurate, but you can tell exactly why he's inaccurate. He has terrible footwork. And he gets away with it because he's a very good athlete. And if you ask Green Bay fans, they'll tell you that one of those frustrating things in the world for them is to see Jordan Love complete a pass off his back foot from a weird arm angle early in the game. They're like, no, he just got rewarded for it. Now he's going to do it 25 more times, and it's going to lead to a crucial pick or a terrible overthrow when you have to have it. I mean, the 4th and 3 throw is as bad as you can throw that football. It's a simple out, and anybody in the league, their backups, make that throw on time, accurately. It's an easy play, and terrible mechanics, airmails it. And my man catches it, but he can't run because he's leaping. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. Josh Allen, when he came into the league, that was the knock on him, was that he was an inaccurate passer, born from below average technique. Now, I'm going to take the expert's word for that. I can look, you can look. We all know things you should do and shouldn't do. I got it. But those that are experts at QB play and that are former quarterbacks or that teach it, read the stuff they had on him. They're like, God, we're all in love with the potential. Nobody should be 6'5", 240 plus and run like that and have that big an arm, but he's got to get more accurate in the league. Okay. Well, he took it to heart, and that's what you're doing in the interview process. When you're interviewing Lamar or Josh or any of the guys where you have question marks about them as a drop-back passer, you better find a guy across from you that can't wait to go to work on that aspect, who can't wait, that says, you know what, I do a lot of things really well. That's something I can get better at. I'm going to work on it in the offseason. I'm going to get better at it. It proves you can vastly improve accuracy if you work at it. Not everybody has the acumen to, but you can vastly improve accuracy if you work at it. Look what he is now.
Yeah, what's next? Guys who drop passes are never going to drop passes again? Because for the longest time, it was you are what you are.
Yeah, for the longest time, it was either you have good hands or you don't have good. Now, that one may still be true.
That one could be. I'm just saying what's next.
Yeah.
Because it's debunked now. This idea that, the moment you are drafted, whatever you were coming out of college is what you are. It's not the case. That's why I thought when the Colts took Anthony Richardson, it was the right pick, because if it works out, you have Josh Allen. And if it doesn't, it's cheaper than it ever has been to replace that player. I would always take chances on that type of quarterback.
On that kind of physical freakdom.
Absolutely.
There, though, like that spot.
Well, they were screwed by winning just enough games to be outside of
That's the hard part, man. That's the hard part, because you get why you would take a chance on certain guys. But if I'm drafting, 4th or 7th or 9th, come on, man.
I mean, that's where Watson and Mahomes went, so you're looking around, you're saying, all I got to do is hit it once. I know it's a 1 in 2, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 chance that it happens. But if we hit and it's this guy's physical skill set that comes to the table, man, I don't need another job as a head coach or a general manager. I've got 15 years.
You're in purgatory, though, waiting a lot of times, because if especially a guy like Richardson, because he didn't play much college football.
Right. Yep.
So you have the problem of he's not refined and he didn't play a lot. So you have too few games under your belt and you don't do things the right way in terms of throwing. And you are a freak. You do have a cannon. You look impossible. Like nobody should look like that. Cam Newton.
Right.
That's the comparison, right?
The best throws he makes are NFL level in the bucket throws to all levels of the field. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so convoluted. Like you'll have a game where you see it for a quarter and it's gone in the second quarter, and then it's back in the third, and then it's not there in the fourth, or he doesn't have it all for all 4 quarters, and then he lights the world on fire. You're like, well, there it is.
Or there's a mutiny at hand, which they are talking openly about in Indianapolis, that they hate the coach. Yeah, they got real issues there.
They've got real issues across the board, because I mean he's years away from being very good.
Yeah.
And Steichen is a really good coach.
Well, and he's hurt, and he'll roll him out there and call a run. And you're like, okay, this is interesting, which is something that happened to Allen this weekend.
Yes.
And I'm seeing far too often across the league. When games are decided, quarterbacks are being put in a position to take hits. Starters are being in a position to take hits. When the game is over, what are we chasing?
Denver led the league in sacks. The game is over. You're blowing them out. Why are you throwing the ball?
In empty protections or empty sets with minimal protection.
Clearly they trust him to get rid of the ball, but yes, I saw those hits too.
He got lit up twice.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely lit up. And Lamar, in a game that's over, he's calling his own number, or you're calling his number and you're running him. It happened with Herbert earlier this season. When the game was over, Tampa was destroying the Chargers. His 4th quarter, he takes 2 massive hits. They're inside their own 20 before half. You call a drop back. What are you doing, NFL coaches? Don't you understand how fleeting this skill set is?
Well, think about the Green Bay Packer fans today, who could argue surely that they had no chance to win that game as they lost their fastest and most talented wide receiver the week before in a game that meant nothing against the Chicago Bears, and they got their quarterback hurt in the same game.
Right.
For no reason.
Yeah, you want to play him? Let's call no play actions and no quarterback runs. That way we minimize the chances he gets destroyed.
I'm just glad it's not a Todd Bowles only thing. If we had the only coach who insisted on playing guys down 37 points with a minute to play, then that'd be something. But no, the whole league does it.
Well, that's the symmetry of playing Washington in week 1. Winfield was never the same this year. And that game was 3 scores, and you have him on the field. Why?
Because that's what they do in the league, Tom. They're
bad clock management, overuse of starters.
Oh, yeah.
I do not get it.
I don't either. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road. with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
At Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we know if you have something in your home that's not supposed to be there, you want it gone now.
Not in a couple of days, not tomorrow, but today. That's why we offer a same-day guarantee.
If you call Paul's before 12, one of our technicians will be out before 5. We guarantee it.
The health of you, your family, and your pets is why we promise to do everything possible to quickly resolve your problem.
And we do so using the safest chemicals. Notice a pest problem?
Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control before 12, and we're there before 5.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control has been treating termites from the exterior of your home for about 25 years.
Paul's was the first to introduce the Centricon termite colony elimination system to North Florida and is the leader of this non-invasive treatment.
Instead of dumping gallons and gallons of harsh chemicals into our soil, Centricon uses environmentally sensitive treatments loaded in bait stations.
These stations are strategically placed around the home. If termites are present, they feed, take it back to the colony, which is shortly destroyed.
To learn more about Centricon
and a free consultation too,
call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
Dream it, plan it, do it. Brian Barnard's Flooring America offers a straightforward way to shop with our streamlined shopping.
Finding the right flooring is simple. Visit our newly remodeled showroom featuring the Room to Explore shopping experience, where our knowledgeable staff will walk you through the steps.
Our family has been serving the area since 1976 with a local staff of more than 35 people trained in flooring sales and design. We know floors.
And we know styles. Let us help make your home timeless.
Brian Barnard's Flooring America, where friends send friends.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
What did I miss? Just saw you.
Leave it.
I don't know what I missed. D's mad at my quarterback talk. I didn't see. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking in the chat. I just now did. I see that you typed. So I want to answer D's questions. Should I go scroll back up? What did I miss? Or respond to? I don't mind. I don't care. That's fine. We can have a conversation.
Apparently, you're selective on the quarterbacks you trash.
We haven't had any good ones here this last year. So obviously, I when Brock was bad, I ripped him. After he was bad,
Exactly. That's what I'd say.
Cromanhawk, I ripped him when he was bad. Obviously, I ripped DJ. I don't know. I ripped all three of them last year. Yeah. And I had high hopes for all three of them. I actually thought at one time, we were hoping not to have to play Cromanhawk. You didn't want to have to play him this year. We saw raw tools, thought he could be a really good player. Unfortunately, they had to play him. Brock, who obviously we didn't think was going to start because they brought in DJ. Brock had a great practice. I remember loving on him for that. He had an incredible practice the first week of pads, and I did love on him for that. It was a great practice. And I got excited about the potential because of what we saw there. But we knew he wasn't going to start because DJ was brought in to start. That's why you bring in a guy. And then DJ ended up being terrible. I don't know. I don't know what the argument's about.
Like one point was that fine, here I go. that you never took a personal shot or like a heavy-handed criticism of Tate. I'm like, man, I don't know what show you were watching or listening to.
I rip Tate's ass all the time.
As the Rodemaker guy, I'm like, yeah.
Oh, well, you must not have been listening those days, man, because I ripped Rodemaker all the time to the point where it made certain guys on this staff mad at me.
You never did in all caps. You never ripped him.
My goodness gracious.
Then you never listened.
Yeah, we that is
you were filing reports while the show was going
nuts.
on.
I ripped Rodemaker all the time.
Leave it, man. It's just there's
I
hearing the show and then
to,
there's listening to the show. You know
I don't like to ignore if there's a topic because I don't always look in the chat. So I just didn't want to be guilty of because sometimes I'm looking in the chat, sometimes I'm not. It can be terribly distracting, so I don't when I'm conducting the show. But I just during the commercial break saw it. I was like, oh well, let me bring it up. You get things right, you get things wrong, and everything in between.
The Tate thing often came up when we discussed the viability of Florida State's playoff life without Jordan as the quarterback. That's usually where it presented.
I got mad all the time thinking about, having to play Tate Rodemaker.
Sure.
If you recall.
The watch along with the Louisville game, but when it was bad before it was good. And I remember when Jordan goes down and Tate comes into that game, he throws a pick before the half. And you can check that tape. It wasn't pleasant.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, that's it's. I get it, man. I get it. I think if you say, I've figured out over the years, if you say something to piss somebody off that really pisses them off, then that's the thing that's the tent or the lens they see you through the rest of the discussion.
Yes. Look, there's a subsequent comment in there that from Ric Flair that insinuates you only pick on certain quarterbacks, which is why I said leave it. Certain types of quarterbacks.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that segment's a weird one to choose to have that discussion, given that we were talking about guys that absolutely prove that you can improve accuracy. Like, that's exciting to me. I wonder now, I will say this, going back to the quarterback discussion, and this has more to do with the kind of offense we're going to run. I really do wonder about the future of receiver recruiting, wide receiver recruiting. That's a more pertinent topic to me. Because I do think that is something you're going to have to overcome when you run a certain style of offense.
Yeah.
Malzahn's, that's Malzahn's offense, and we know they're going to be a run-first team.
Yeah, and part of the problem, it starts this spring in terms of keeping guys, like if McCoy has a great camp, if Gibson or Moore have good camps, immediately you're going to go, are they sticking around? Because they really like Javon Boggs. That was a Gus guy from the trail that they closed on. They did close on a couple other potential true freshmen that could contribute, at least from a size standpoint. Gelsey is one of those. The kid they flipped from West Virginia is another one of those. It's going to be a really crowded room, and how many footballs are going to be thrown to the perimeter? So when you're talking about Hakeem or McCoy or BJ Gibson or Elijah Moore, that's a fascinating subplot. There are so many major plots, but that's a fascinating subplot of who wins the jobs and then who's content with being a backup in this offense that ideally wants to go 65-35 run pass.
Well, and when I say that, look, you got to be whatever you are. Like, if you're a team that throws the ball 40 to 50 times a game, you might have a hard time bringing in running backs. If that's going to be what you do, you're going to spread it out and just throw it all over the lot, you might have a hard time bringing in an elite running back. If you're going to be a team that wants to run the ball as much as Florida State's going to want to run the ball, obviously you're going to have to convince receivers of the value of their role in this offense when they're being recruited by a team that do throw it around the lot, who do have, a guy with a big arm who's a projected NFL quarterback. You have somebody like that and you're going head-to-head for a receiver, and yet that's not what you're running. Obviously, that's going to be hard to overcome. Not saying you can't bring in some good receivers. You do wonder how many you can stockpile, though, when you're on the trail, how many kids you get a yes from, all things being equal.
Still, though, I think right now I would take that problem because it means you would be more attractive to offensive linemen than you have been in a very long time.
Oh,
linemen
and
love
running
the run
backs,
block.
and yes.
You'd be more attractive to H-back tight ends than you have been. And you've done a good job recruiting there anyway, but I'm saying the elite ones would want to come play in this system if it's successful. because they're going to get a lot of run and they're going to be featured an awful lot. Same thing, yes, correct, with running backs. So there are trade-offs here, but I just wanted to be successful so that you have tackles and guards saying, I want to play in that system, that we go straight ahead. When we play like men, I want to learn how to play in that system.
The idea of running something, whatever it is, and running it well and having an identity and playing to that identity. Yes, you want a diversified, or you want the ability to diversify your offense and to do things maybe out of character, if you will, within that offense. But you're right. Knowing what you are and how you execute and doing that to, the goal is to perfection. Obviously, you're trying to achieve that. Yes, that's knowing what and who you are and playing to that is hugely important. I felt like Mike was throwing things at the up against the wall last year. Like it felt, I'm not describing this right, but it felt an awful lot like at times he was just calling plays as opposed to calling plays within a game plan built for that particular opponent, born out of what he does, from a system standpoint.
Yeah, it felt like a hockey game.
Yes.
You just have these line changes literally on the offensive line by the time you get to the third drive, but then also at skill positions. You'd see wholesale substitutions at receiver or at running back, and there's no rhythm generated. That was the number one concern I had coming into the season that ended up actually playing out. Now, I wasn't concerned enough to say Florida State was going to lose 10 games or 6 or even 4, but I was concerned about how does anybody get into the rhythm, or how do you set something up if every time Jalen Lucas comes on the field, you run a certain look, because then there's nothing else for them to think that could be coming.
Right.
Or if Cam Davis is on the field,
right.
You had Toafili. I wish he used him a hell of a lot more. It seemed like he got into a rhythm only a couple of times this season, and he produced for you in a ground game that was otherwise completely stale. But the moment somebody got moving forward, here comes Sam Singleton or here comes Cam Davis, and you go, I don't even know what this offense is. Like, what would you term the offense other than bad? As we were living through it, there's a whole bunch of dudes. I can't really get a sense of the substitution patterns for these dudes.
Yeah, because it was inconsistent other than it happened.
Right.
The rhyme or reason didn't stand out to you. Like, oh, this is our short yardage back. This is a third down back. This is you didn't see that, right? It didn't have not unlike how many times we had to have a discussion that you have your smallish wide receiver trying to block for your big wide receiver.
Jaylen Brown ahead of Hakeem Williams.
Why would that happen? Again, I think it's because you just randomly I described last year as obviously, I'll just say me then, certainly did not gauge the depths to which they could be that bad. I never in a million years thought they could be that bad. I certainly didn't think they'd be anything resembling 2-10. We didn't think they'd be as good as they were the year before. They could win, I think, 9-10 games was what the hope was. Be in the ballpark to have a shot to defend your ACC crown. The idealized version of what they thought DJ was going to be, I understood the reasoning. Mike basically lauded the offensive line, and they thought, okay, we're going to bring in some speed. I think we're going to be able to run the ball and protect him. Now, DJ, a couple of things. Never looked less athletic in his entire career than he did this past year. And I have maintained all along that he was hurt. Something was wrong. He's never been that slow ever. And he was unbelievably slow, like upsettingly slow. And he was not that way at Oregon State. And he wasn't that way, obviously, at Clemson. Now, he was never, I'm not trying to paint him as some sort of fleet of foot run for 700 yards in a season guy, but he could get out of the way. How many times did he hurt us when he was with Clemson rolling out in the game here and then just taking off?
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, in the spring he moved fine too. And in the early part of fall camp he moved fine.
Clearly, something happened. He got hurt. And so once that was the case where he was immobile and then the offensive line wasn't what you thought it could be, he was of no use to you at that point. You were screwed. And it felt like to me that Mike was just trying to put out fires. Just like, well, how do I keep some of the younger guys that we've brought in, either via recruiting or through the portal, at wide receiver and running back? How do I keep them happy? Well, I got to give them some playing time. That's what it felt like to me.
Yes, 100%. It felt like, well, I have all these guys and I need to use.
Yeah, I got to play them. Yeah,
no, you don't, and that will remain a concern of mine, and it won't be answered until you get into the games this season. That's going to be a concern of mine, no matter what I see in camp. Because think about how crowded those rooms are right now. Gus needs to have the command of the room and the latitude given. I would imagine that's in his contract, or at least a handshake. To say, I'm rolling with my guys. I'm not saying never rotate. I'm just saying we don't look at. We got this guy and that guy, and we got this guy. You know, when a coach is asked about a receiver or a running back, and they'll often list everybody in the depth chart because they don't want to.
Yeah, they don't want to alienate somebody else. Yeah.
I felt like that was the game plan.
Yes.
Instead,
yes.
Well, we have Jalen Brown, and we also have Hakeem Williams, and look, we got Jalen Lucas over here, and we got obviously Malik Benson's a really good player, and it's just like, well, that I don't know that that's why. Is that the substitution pattern theory here? Is same thing at running back. Well, we really love what we got in Lawrence. He's a great back. Sam Singleton's had a really nice camp. Cam Davis has really come on, everybody. I mean, Cam's pretty good, and Keziah can play. I'm like, is that how you're going through your head and saying, all right, Keziah, go in?
You wonder in the modern era, too, with coaches, whether or not they feel a certain amount of pressure based on NIL. They ought not. We've said that before, right? Like if a guy, coaches can certainly go to the collective, and we'll see what the collectives are going to look like and how they are going to act moving forward once everybody has the house money and things come in-house. Their roles will change. But prior to that, the conversation has been, hey, if you pay a guy a certain amount of money, do you feel forced to play him even if he's not the best player? Well, that's a case-by-case basis conversation, and a coach ought not do that. But you do wonder, would they feel pressure to do that? But with Mike's situation, early on, I thought maybe that's what we were seeing some of. But then actually that didn't follow either. Because then there were guys that we knew weren't making a lot of money in NIL at all, and they would get in certain situations that it didn't really seem necessary. So at first I thought, oh, well, yeah, they're paying that guy quite a bit of money. They probably need to get him out there. And then later on I was like, oh, no, it's not really that. It does not adhere to that specifically.
No, well, it's a continuation of the philosophy from 2023. Which is, I'm going to rotate guys in and out. We're going to be fresher than you. I mean, it's very much like Leonard's theory. Even, in the 2.0, he would steal minutes with Kumaje, or, he would steal minutes at the beginning of the game with a player or two that he knew he wasn't going to use down the stretch. And if they're going to play 12 minutes, 10 of them are going to be to start the game. And I'm going to use them for 2 minutes to start the second half, and that's it. That was Mike's philosophy on defense 2 years ago. I wasn't comfortable with it, but I was proven wrong because in November, that defense looked fresher than any defense in the country.
Yeah, and we don't know, was that the direct result of that practice, or did they just get lucky that guys get healthy at the right time?
It could be a combination of the two, but certainly they looked different than their opponents. And Louisville didn't have a bad offensive line. And you go, oh my God, this isn't even a contest. And he's thinking maybe that on offense as well. I want max reps. You guys get in there for 2 or 3 plays. Come on out. I need max reps again in 10, 15 minutes. And then the opponent's going to be so overwhelmed by how fresh we are and the variety of weapons we can throw at you. But then you were a whole lot of everything and nothing was good. None of it was good.
Well, I would have thought that maybe you enter the year having been rewarded, Tom, with what you chose to do the season before. Maybe you enter the year with that idea because, again, you were rewarded, as you just documented, as you just pointed out. But once you're 0-2 and 1-3 and 1-4 or whatever we were at that point with the wins the Cal game. Anyhow, the point is once your season is spiraling out of control in the wrong direction, you're not beholden to whatever any of that was.
Agreed. I also think offense is different than defense. It's probably something to ask Dominic because he's coached both sides of the ball and played both sides of the ball. I feel like there's a reason you see substitutions at a much greater clip on defense in the college and pro game than you do on offense. You don't see offensive line substitutions. No. You don't see A.J. Brown come off the field and he only plays 50% of the snaps. What are we doing? Saquon, let's make sure he's fresh. Let's get Gainwell out there. What? No. You got Saquon.
I'd ride Saquon. He's pretty good. Tried and True Consulting is a payments and business solutions company owned by fellow Knowles. As a Knowles business owner, they're committed to reducing costs and increasing your bottom line. That's a good thing. They also give back 10% of their net revenue to the Battle's End. Hit the trifecta today. You can scan that QR code, or you can call alumni's Don and Joe, as well as Rusty, 844-464-6653. That is 844-464-6653.
Your local news now.
A man is behind bars after a shooting occurred Sunday night in a shopping center in Quincy. Reginald Clark was arrested and faces charges of attempted murder and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon in connection to the shooting. He's also charged with possessing a firearm with a modified serial number. The incident unfolded just before 9:15 p.m. Sunday in the parking lot of a shopping center located off North Cleveland Street. Clark, whom police said owns a barbershop in the shopping center, shot another business owner. At this time, police said the circumstances regarding what led up to the shooting are unknown. The investigation is ongoing. 2 people died early Saturday morning in Chattahoochee after a home on Water Street went up in flames. Officials arrived on the scene and found the home fully engulfed. At this time, the cause of the fire is unknown. Chattahoochee police are working with the state fire marshal to determine the cause of the fire. This is Rachel Anae with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by McLemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Frobley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with a slight chance of rain showers. High temperatures reach up to 47. Winds out of the northeast, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight, lows level out around 36. Daytime highs approaching 56 tomorrow. Lots of sunshine. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 45 degrees.
Where is the best place to find Michelin, Firestone, Dunlop, Goodyear, and Bridgestone tires? Nice Tire and Auto Service. Where's the best full-service auto center? Nice Tire and Auto Service. They do everything from computerized alignments to brakes, tune-ups, and safety inspections. Where can you get complete auto service you can trust? That's easy. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean, you know.
No, I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Somebody asked earlier in the show, Tom, about when we were going to have Link on. And you and I were talking during the break. So this marries nicely. We're actually here in the coming weeks. It's so weird how the schedule has changed over the years now. You know, this would not have been a deadish time in the past.
The lead up to signing day, which was a holiday.
Right. It was a big to-do. But in college football, that has changed. Obviously, we are a week away now from the national championship being played.
Do you remember all those weekend visits leading up to signing day? Every weekend in January was this massive deal, and you wanted to have that last weekend loaded up with 4s and 5 stars.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I remember we would have Michael on because, you know, I follow the kiddies.com and been put on the back burner for some time. And so we'd have Michael on to tell us about all the people that were coming in. But now it's kind of a dead time in college football in a way that it didn't used to be, which, why do I bring that up? frees us up to have assistant coaches on. So we're going to be efforting to do that, to try to bring on some of the new guys of this coaching staff and to have a one-on-one interview with them. I'd like to get back to doing that. Listen, there were things that were out of my control and frankly, understandable to some extent with Mike's situation. I obviously over the years, I've been doing this show for 27 years and I had the good fortune most of those years to be able to either weekly, but certainly monthly, be able to talk to the head coach or assistant coaches on a regular basis. And, I did that with Willie. I did that with Jimbo, obviously. And when Mike first got here, we were doing that as well. We were going to continue to do that. And Mike seemed open to that. Mike's media policies are awesome. It's well documented. But for reasons I won't get into on the air here because it doesn't do us any good, it's a little behind baseball type thing. He stopped doing those interviews. It has nothing to do with our relationship, nothing to do with content or anything that we did or had a discussion about. He really stopped doing all of those types of interviews in general, the weekly things. And he just made himself available collectively to the beat. And you could get him after practices, and that's kind of when he did his talking, other than when he would do the weekly press conference, right? So he wasn't doing a lot of shows. He'd go on as a guest here and there, and he's come on as a guest with our show before too. But I would like to try to get something back to a regular feature, and we'll see if we can be able to do. I don't know if it'll work. But I'm going to approach them. If they're listening now, there you go. You got a heads up. I'm going to try to talk to Derek and them and see if we can't get back to doing that. Maybe in the fall, where we end up having Coach on in the build up to the season and see if we can get him on once a week, once every other week, something like that at the very least.
After the big win over Alabama.
Well, what a big time to have him on, right? Wouldn't that be
absolutely
huge? But no, I'd like to do it. I always feel like it's an opportunity, and I mean that humbly. I don't mean that arrogantly. For coaches, it's a great chance. We do have a sizable listenership, and I'm very thankful for it. And we've built it up and worked very hard to build that audience over a long period of time. And because of that, I'll just stop short of saying this is a big show within the Florida State community. Florida State alumni, boosters, fans, and the like, supporters of any kind, listen to this show in huge numbers. It's a chance for a coach to come on and talk to a wide array of people and to kind of get out there whatever it is, your message, and also to clarify some things because when we're on the outside looking in, as far as play goes or why something happens, when you get asked that question, it's your chance to kind of explain a little bit more in more detail why things are the way they are.
Well, one example of that would be Tony White to talk about the multiple fronts. This is something that, you got with Sean Callahan from Husker Online,
right?
And you were told out the gate, it is called a 3-3-5, but Tony White runs a lot of 4 down front looks.
Yes, he does.
A lot of those looks. There was a recruit on campus this weekend that's one of the top uncommitted recruits left on the board in the 2025 class, top 125 player, edge rusher, talking about how the pitch from Florida State this weekend was about the 4-man front and how he liked what they had to say and what he saw out of Coach White's 4-man front look.
Yeah.
So, that is a great question to move towards the defensive coordinator himself, which is, you are known as a 3-3-5 guy without, delving into too many percentages. You have a different set of skills here with this roster. What's the ideal mix? Do you think 3-3-5 is an unfair label to be given to you? Because clearly they're going to run a lot of multiple looks.
Yeah, and coaches, no matter what they're known for, no matter what it is that they run, their scheme, if you are an offensive mind, you're running a pro-style offense. Some cases, obviously, you talk about what we're going to see this year from Florida State's offense. It would not be labeled as such. You talk about, the different elements of anybody's offense incorporates other elements of other schemes all the time. And most coaches want you to know that they're diverse. They have the ability to mold and meld whatever to their players. You don't want to be all of one thing or the other. You may have an overriding philosophy. You may have a scheme you like. We've talked about that many times. Everybody does. But if you get a certain kind of player, you're not going to underutilize a skill set. You'll incorporate it and find a way to utilize it. If that means that you're running something that's not under that umbrella, you're going to do it. So, yeah, we're just always going to run a 3-3-5? No. Plenty of 4-man fronts.
Well, one of the things last year, too, is more times than you'd think, just the general fan out there, we ran 4-3 a lot last year.
Mm-hmm.
We had 3 linebacker looks a lot.
Yes.
I mean,
it wasn't just a 4-2-5, but yes.
We ran a 4-3, a healthy chunk of a lot of games. So I'll be interested to see, though, because, do you go, is it dependent upon getting another kid or two out of the portal that you look more at a 4-man front this year? Like, in an ideal world, would he want to run a 3-3-5? But maybe because he's in Florida, he can recruit to a 4-man front instead. And just, there's a lot of moving parts there to make that decision about how you want to govern your defense over the next year or two. And then also if he's here for the long term, more like 4 years.
I'll be excited to talk to him. I'll be excited to talk about what he's going to run because he's very serious. And I think he probably likes to talk about it. Like, I love when a guy gets on and doesn't waver from how much they love football and doesn't feel the need to, like, entertain. Because I think that's entertaining in and of itself. Like, talk to me about these elements. Talk to me about what you want to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and how you arrived at that place. Obviously, we could talk about the origins of any offense. We could talk about the origins of any defense. But I like to learn where he picked up what he did along the way.
It ends up being about leadership and, looking in somebody's eyes and learning what to say. Like, that's just so important. And he seems to have that skill.
Would you want to run a slot tee, a wing tee, a single wing? Hour number 3 forthcoming. You can answer there.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Listen to what people are saying about ACL Home Inspections.
They took the time to explain every detail, providing clear insights and answering all of my questions.
I needed an inspection quickly. ACL scheduled me within 24 hours, and the inspector was able to arrive early. That was a huge bonus, and my 2 dogs absolutely adore him.
ACL Home Inspections will accompany you on a walkthrough inspection of the home you want to buy, then provide you with an easy-to-read digital report the same day. For homeowners planning to list their house on the market before putting it up for sale, ACL will provide you a pre-listing inspection.
As a very analytical person, I want to see all the details and ask questions. I interviewed 3 home inspection companies and was very impressed by ACL.
See for yourself what people are saying. Search ACL Home Inspections and find out more at aclhomeinspections.com or call 850-312-8919. 850-312-8919.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
There's no heating and air conditioning.
From the championship stage to coaching change and everything in between, Warchant.com remains your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. Brutally honest columns and features, market-leading multimedia presence across video and podcast, the largest FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
WVFD Gretna, Tallahassee. This is Real Talk 93.3. More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next. Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3, brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose 23-20 to the Washington Commanders at Raymond James Stadium as they lose in the wild card round of the NFC playoffs. Washington kicking a 37-yard field goal with no time remaining. They go 10 plays, 51 yards to set up the game-winning field goal. It came after the Bucs had tied the game at 20 on a field goal with 4:41 left in the game. Baker Mayfield threw for 2 touchdowns for Tampa Bay. Bucky Irving had 17 carries for 77 yards. Washington got 2 touchdown passes from rookie quarterback James Daniels. The College Football National Championship game is set for Atlanta on January 20th. It's Notre Dame against Ohio State. The Fighting Irish coming off a victory against Penn State at the Orange Bowl, while Ohio State beat Texas at the Cotton Bowl. This sports update brought to you by Flomar's Pawn, Guns, and Gold. More than you might expect. I'm Tony DeZeri, Real Talk 93.3.
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer lets you easily compare direct rates from different insurance companies, so you can be confident you're getting the right one, even if it's not with Progressive. Way more confident than you were when you tried online gaming. Who knew 12-year-old boys could be so mean? And where did they learn to swear like that? 2 hours of losing to these underage trash talkers, and you're starting to question if maybe you really should stick to pickleball and other boomer stuff. So use Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer and be confident you're getting insurance that's right for you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Something amazing is happening in video conferencing. People are showing up in big ways. That's because CDW is building collaborative and connected video and audio environments with HP Poly. With Noise Block AI to silence distractions and group framing to highlight speakers, everyone on your team gets to shine. Make amazing happen. HP Poly and CDW. Learn more at cdw.com/poly.
Barman, you look so twisted. What did you do now?
Well, Hank the alligator needed his teeth brushed, and when I bent over to give him a scrub, my back popped like an afternoon lightning storm in Florida. And now I can't even stand up.
You need to go to FinChiro.com and schedule your new patient appointment right away at FinChiro.com. That's FENNCHIRO.com.
I'm really busy. I don't want to leave Hank in the orange grove unattended for too long.
Fin Chiropractic will get you in right away, and they get to the cause of your problems. So go to FinChiro.com and make your new patient appointment. There's even an online discount.
Discount? That's a good thing because my purse is a little light since I bought Hank a new gold chain.
You have to take care of yourself if you want to be able to take care of your alligator Hank. Make your appointment now. Go to FinChiro.com.
Well, hold my pina colada. I'm going to FinChiro.com.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
When you bundle renters and auto with Progressive, you can save while protecting your most valuable possessions, like your priceless vinyl collection. Sure, you sleep on a futon because the money most people would have spent on a bed you spent on more records. But forget the fact that you can stream just about any song ever created for a few dollars a month. No, you need to listen to music in the most difficult way possible. So go ahead and get Progressive so you can save while protecting the things that matter to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Weather, Tom. This is sleeping weather is what this is. Looking out that window behind you, dark, rainy, has been since I got back in town. Really from the time I left Tampa this morning. Rain followed me everywhere. NFL gods were crying for the Bucs. Or not.
Why did it happen?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think NFL executives are happy, or at least the people that run the TV network, because you got a kid in Jaden Daniels. He's electrifying and fun to watch, and yet that game against Detroit could get interesting. Detroit's rested. Obviously, they're hosting. They've been the better team. They are a better team, but Washington's offense might be able to put up a number and make that game interesting. It'll be fascinating to see.
This is where their aggressiveness on fourth down would serve them very, very well when they get over the 50-yard line, because you can take the life out of the game, shrink the amount of possessions the opponent gets, and at that point, it comes down to red zone efficiency. If you can do all those things. Austin Eckler adds an element to that attack. I'm sure we'll break that down as the week goes on, but he adds another element as a blocker in some circumstances, as a pass catcher. They're a headache, and they could be a pretty big headache for Detroit this weekend. We'll see.
Dallas fires McCarthy, so the coaching dominoes are beginning to fall. You see that. Not surprising, I don't suppose. What's going to happen now with all of those openings is you're going to hear a lot of questions about whether or not Belichick will stay with Carolina. And, does he get an offer? What if he got an offer from the Dallas Cowboys? Now, I don't know that he would want to work for Jerry Jones.
I don't think Belichick would ever take that offer unless Jerry decided to just go sit in his owner's box and in writing say that I'm not doing a thing.
Leave it be, right?
Yeah.
Vrabel, as expected, did end up becoming the head coach of the New England Patriots, which I think would have been a good fit for Chicago. That said, just because Vrabel, defensive guy, that town, ruggedness, they would have liked that. But if you're Chicago, you just drafted a quarterback in Caleb that you probably need an offensive mind to work alongside. And so you do wonder what direction they're going to go. They're said to have been interested in, or maybe interested in, Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. I think if you're Notre Dame, you don't want to lose him. He's done a great job there this year and is a guy that's probably growing on the job and going to get better and better.
If I'm Chicago, I'm looking at
Pete Carroll.
No, Monken in Baltimore, or Brady in Buffalo.
The problem you have in the case of Brady, and I'm with you on him. I like him a lot. Always have, going back to when he was the OC at LSU. Chicago spent a lot of time hiring guys that aren't head coaches, that haven't been head coaches, and then they've watched them fail on the job. Now, management's a mess in Chicago, and that's a large part of their problem. So maybe it's not on those guys. But Chicago is viewed these days as cheap. That's how you hire an Eberflus. And, that's not a good – Pete Carroll would cost a lot of money. And he's a guy that is up there in years. He's over 70 years old. So it would be a short-term deal. You wouldn't have him for 15 years. But he is an offensive mind, and he's a very young 70-whatever. I don't know. I like Brady, but he's never been a head coach, and so you worry about it because they've had guys fail trying to do that. And you just – I don't know if that's the head coach having a hard time working with the GM.
Well, I'm telling you, if it comes down to Marcus Freeman or Brady or Monken, I'd put Freeman third, and I wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah, because you want an offense. You're talking about at this point, you want a known commodity in the NFL calling plays.
Yeah,
for your quarterback.
That's more important than whether or not they've been a head coach before, or if they have the head coach feel to them. It's a college. I get that the college operation is more professional every year, but I would rather have an NFL coordinator than a college head coach who is on a hot streak. And he could make that thing at Notre Dame into a perennial power. It's possible. But we need Caleb Williams to score points to win games. And I need to, like, Monken's doing a phenomenal job this year, even though they got all the weapons in the world.
They do.
And people are off balance all the time. How are they off balance about Lamar Jackson running the football? That's where the scheme comes in.
You're a coach. You're a coach, just any coach, and you are in the running of these jobs. Now that we know that New England has filled their void with Vrabel, you have the Bears, the Jaguars, the Jets, the Raiders, and the Saints all searching for a head coach, and now the Dallas Cowboys. So Cowboys, Raiders, Saints, Jags, Bears, Las Vegas, the Raiders. Yeah, that's right. Said that. They're also looking for a new GM. Brady's really running that thing.
That would be attractive for the Raiders. If I'm not having to run my ideas through a Davis and I'm running my ideas through Tom Brady, that makes that place more attractive than, say, Jacksonville or Dallas. But I think the answer has to be Chicago, number one. You've got a quarterback that you got a shot with to get a second contract, because that has to be part of your math, right?
Yeah, and you've got weapons there too. They don't block it up. So you're going to have to go right in and draft offensive line. But we've seen you can fix your offensive line troubles in the NFL pretty quickly. Now you got to get it right in the draft. But the hit rate is higher on offensive linemen than it is at other positions. And if you get a couple of tackles, I mean, my goodness gracious, the Bucs have built it up very quickly. They couldn't run the ball at all a few years ago.
I agree. You can automatically eliminate the Jets. Awful organization.
Oh, yeah. Woody.
Same thing with Dallas. Awful organization. You just tied your next 5 years to Dak. So, no, thanks. Jacksonville, no, thank you. New Orleans, maybe, but I got to see those cap figures and understand how screwed I am for the first 2 to 3 years. It's like Al Golden taking the Miami job. Oh, really? So I'm taking a job, I'm just going to be screwed.
How about the Al Golden renaissance? He may coach his way into, or he may have coached his way into a situation where he'll get another shot at head coach.
I like his look now.
Yeah.
He's always been distinct, hasn't he?
Well, he's put on weight and he cut his hair. He doesn't have the
got like the
used car salesman thing going
got
on.
Like the goggle glasses and the garbage bag pullover instead of the shirt and tie.
I remember feeling kind of sorry for him on the elevator in Charlotte. I was at the ACC meetings. He got it. It's just he and I had been making fun of Al Golden for some time because of that look that he had. That come on down to house. You picture like 9-year-old beaters behind him that he's trying to tell you are these incredible cars. His suit was always too big for him.
Yeah, right. Well, he's the guy in the insurance company that you say, look, Al's got some issues, but he is earnest and he will go to work for you.
He will go to work for you. He cares deeply about this. Yes.
Now, he might be a little late on this or that from time to time, but Al cares. Damn it. Al will go to work for you. He's never been our number one sales guy,
but we don't want to lose him either.
But he's a 20-year guy.
He's solid. We trust him.
We have to let him go to the convention in March. We have to. And Al needs to blow off some steam. He's had a tough go.
Yeah, he's been divorced 3 times. But, everything I've ever heard, he's a good guy. I don't know what happened there.
There were a few Christmas parties that, we don't talk about around here. But I mean, he's got a heart of gold.
And he's sweaty no matter what time of the year it is. When he comes into the office, he's sweating. His tie's loose. He's trying to fix it.
He's the guy who smushes his nose when you're having drink orders at a lunch. You're like, hey, okay, can I get what for the table? Oh, man. I'll just a water. Man.
Oh, man.
It's been a day.
He's red. Water. He's red for no reason. He's like, Al's red again. What's going on?
It's 42 outside.
What's going on, Al? He's pre-diabetes, it's he's stressed out. I'm curious. Yeah, those jobs, it's funny. On the one hand, and this is true of the Bears too. It used to be true, I think, of the Raiders, but they've moved around so much now that I feel like the Raiders have lost a lot of their luster. There was something significant about the Oakland Raiders, and then even to some extent the Los Angeles Raiders, but Las Vegas feels like they lost their way. I mean, I know what happened there, but it's not the same.
Well, they're about to have the Raider way because that's what Tom Brady's going to coin. Like he thought it up. Well, Romo did that this weekend. Did you have the audio of that game, or were you just watching?
I had checked into the hotel at that point. Yeah.
There are two things that are embarrassing for Tony. One of which I called it that they'd have a fake punt. I told you that, Jim, last night. Like, well, thanks, Tony. I'm glad that you brought it to the table that you told Jim last night that you thought they would fake it. And now that it's actually happened, you're saying, well, I told you last night they were going to do that,
well,
Jim.
It's weird because you know that they got insight on that during the week when they did their show prep, when they talked to the coaches. It's the same as this moves right to left. They've all got it wrong.
And he said, you remember, Jim.
Yeah.
He went back to, you remember, I told you and the whole crew.
So he's like a little kid.
And Jim didn't give him the credit, which I was like, good, Jim. Good job.
Yeah, he didn't do it.
The other part was there was orbit motion pre-snap, where you go outside the path of the running back. He's like, what I like to call an orbit motion. What you like to call an orbit motion? You know, Jim, they got a fullback in here ahead of the tailback, and what I like to call an I formation.
Yeah. He did do this right, and of course, it's easily predictable because you're trying to, when you send a guy in motion, you're trying to get them to declare. And so he points out that there was a running back lined up outside. He's like, well, he won't stay here. He's going to come across the formation.
Yeah.
Yes, Tony, he is going to come across the formation. They want to see if they're in man or not. Yeah, and it was funny. And then he said it, and I was like, come on. Now, I get it, though. You know, he's probably being told.
You got to tell the casuals what's going on.
Yeah. That's a fine line.
What I like to call orbit motion. Okay, thanks.
Nobody else does, though,
No,
Tony.
No.
Just you.
Yeah, Jim, I like to call this a jet sweep. Really? A jet? Why? Why, Tony? I don't know. Seemed cool.
When I was looking at the play design many years ago, I thought, this is like a jet. Well, unfortunately for me and my fellow Buccaneer fans that were in attendance last night, that jet cost us dearly. I was at the angle where I could see that the exchange was not going as planned. It was like slow motion. You know my ability to sniff out a fumble. I was leaning forward.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
No, and it was on the heels of our favorite guy to talk about making a heroic play to get the first down with the body control.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, we needed that because if we're punting, we're losing the football game.
Yes.
You pick up the first down, you go, oh, we're going to go down the field.
We're going to go down the field, score, and win the game.
Yeah,
that's
that
correct.
was the play. That was it.
Yes.
That was the play.
Yes. And then as soon as he fumbled, I told you. I told you, Tom.
That's right. I said it last night.
I actually did.
I think he's going to fumble, Jim.
I did say to Matt sitting next to me, hey, man, that's your ball game. We're screwed. I was pissed. Tampa's grown up a lot. The in-game experience has grown a lot. You know, it's one of those things.
It's the red lights. That helps.
Well, you know where you can – we all do this. Like Florida State fans, we can rip our own, but if somebody from the outside does, you're like, hey. No, you don't have carte blanche to say whatever you want about Florida State. That's not how this goes.
No more territorial fan base than the Jacksonville Jaguars fan base.
So Tampa was one of those places. I mean, we both grew up down there, and we love our Bucks, and we get the good, the bad, and the ugly of both Pinellas and Hillsborough counties. We got it, right? And we have fun at their expense all the time because those are our people down there, that whole area, right? We grew up down there. I used to specifically make fun of Bucks fans, of which I'm one, especially in the areas where the cheaper tickets are. Like the end zone seats, you could hear and see things that made you a little embarrassed to be a Bucks fan. You kind of like looked around like, oh, well, not in front of the guests, guys.
Is that a yellow cloud?
What are you doing? Yeah, just really weird things where you're like, that guy doesn't like his job. He won't be here in a few years. I mean, on Earth. Like this is where we're at.
You hear a laugh and it makes you get you at the creepy crawlies. You're like, that's part evil, part suffering, part vulnerable.
Also very, very drunk.
And there's a lot of cigarettes in play there.
Oh, tons of them.
But you hear the vulnerability in their
leathery
laugh.
skin.
It's like John Candy doing his monologue in Planes, Trains, and you look in his eyes. You hear it in the laugh.
Like, oh, man, this guy's broken. He's broken and he knows it. This is all he has. This Sunday, that's his. This is one thing.
And he's about to get thrown out because he doesn't do himself any favors.
Nope. But he and Jack have been coming to these games for 20 years. Jack had to miss this year, though. He had a heart attack. Anyhow, so like that, that's what that is, right? And I was waiting for it. And going into the stadium, because we parked and we tailgated a little bit, and we were going into the stadium. I'm like, oh, here it comes. And I was with somebody who was indifferent and somebody who was a diehard Washington fan, and then there's me, diehard Bucks fan. And we're all just talking because Matt's a Bears fan, obviously. And so we're just walking in, and I'm looking around, and I keep waiting for that moment where I'm like, oh, that dude just fell down. Okay. I knew we were going to see it. It's Tampa. That guy is having sex with a hooker by the bushes. Okay. Guess I shouldn't be surprised. We are here in Tampa. And
he's wearing a Disturbed shirt. It's their 2006 tour.
So I kind of thought I was going to, and I didn't see any of it. And they were like cordial to Washington fans after the game. Saw no crazy, nothing terrible. I did see two Bucks fans fighting one another. With about a minute to go in the game when Washington's bleeding the clock, these two Bucks fans just start fighting each other. They were very upset about the loss to umpire.
One pinned it on the offense, one pinned it on the defense.
Back and forth they went. They were pushing each other. And I thought, oh, man, don't start a fight with a Washington fan just because they're a Washington fan. And then I looked and went, oh, it's two Bucks fans. The NFL has cornered the market, I think, on fan fights. It's crazy. Any given Sunday, as they say, all you got to do is pull up any of your social media accounts. You'll see somebody fighting at a Buffalo game, fighting at a Cincinnati game, fighting at a Cleveland game, fighting at a Raiders game, fighting at a Bucks game, Jags game, Dolphins game, you name it. Every week. I don't feel like that happens in college football. I know there are problematic relationships between fan bases and passionate ones at that. Yeah. I don't see the fights in the stands like I do in the NFL.
No, the only memorable one that was Jacksonville this year for Florida, Georgia. Remember the cop?
Oh, yeah.
Woo. Like there was two of them. There was the upper deck, and then there's one down closer to the
and they were just wailing on people. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Done.
They were beating people half to death. Yeah.
That's stop. He's already dead stuff there. Yeah.
But you do see a lot of these fights in the NFL games. Anyhow, there's two things. The Bucks were so bad when I was growing up that you'd go into that stadium and the lining of the walls were empty. There was nothing to hang up there. They were a new franchise. They hadn't really done anything. Now, obviously in 79, the NFC Championship game, and they were the fastest to ever do it. But that was like their lone thing. You could go look up there like, we did. That's true. That year happened.
Yeah, next to the Jesse's Seafood House logo.
And you're just like, this is not it. Like later on, can we put Doug Williams up there? Can we do something? We got Leroy Selman. They did that. So Selman's up there. But now when you go in, a lot of guys. They got Monty Kiffin up there now, which is really, really good. Obviously, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Warren Sapp, the list goes on and on and on. Paul Gruber's up there finally. That's good.
Yeah, and the playoff win in 96, I guess it was, when we beat Detroit, played Barry Sanders and the Lions. I was sitting in the end zone for that playoff game, and this was pre-9/11, man. So the guy behind me has a giant cardboard box. Just nowadays, that's impossible.
You would never bring that in. You could not bring it into the stadium. Yeah.
He's got a giant cardboard box, and you know how Houlihan was. It was the bleachers, Tampa Stadium.
Yep.
So you're just staring at it the whole game, and then Allstott scores late, and we go up 2 scores. So at that point, we're going to win. And the guy doesn't have any teeth. He's like, I've been waiting for this since 1979. And he takes out a bunch of confetti. That's all that was in the box.
What?
He just throws up a bunch of confetti. It was perfectly Tampa bizarre.
Yeah. Well, they've come a long way. There's now.
He was also giving out beads, Jeff.
No, of course. But now you go in, Tom, there are 2 Super Bowl championships to admire. There are all of the playoff victories, of which there are a lot now. division championships, plural. There's a lot of stuff up there on the ring.
Growing up, the coolest thing in Raymond James Stadium before all of the wins was the Publix logo with the eye patch over the P.
Yeah.
That was it. You're like, that's really cool. And you had nothing else. WTOG signs.
Now the Publix thing has turned into the Crew sign, the KREWE.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got a picture that we should try to put up on the screen here from last night, where one of the gentlemen who does the dressing up as a pirate, there were lots of them. And you know, they're the old school fan that's been there a long time, and they look like a pirate. They look like somebody who's weathered a lifetime of beatings.
And they're only your age. They're not 70. He looks 70. He's 53.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Well, it's a new year, and it's time to make your yard look great again. Since 2004, the Lawn Johns have been keeping Tallahassee looking beautiful. In fact, when they do such a good job on your yard, you're going to say, wow, they did a good job on my yard. If I were to rate the Lawn Johns, I would give them, just like I'd give myself, an A+. Everyone knows the Lawn Johns are, and I have to say, the best. So pick up the phone and call 322-2567, or you can visit them online at thelawnjohns.com.
Hey man, have you heard about Calvert Jewelry's the best in town? Rings, diamonds, earrings, bracelets, and more. And Calvert Jewelry.
When was the last time you randomly did something nice for someone that means a lot to you? Now, I say this every day at the end of my show for everybody to be a better person today than you were yesterday. Well, one way to do that is to drop into Pentalta and get a gift for someone who deserves it. It'll brighten their day, their week, maybe even their year. You don't have to wait for a holiday or special occasion, so don't wait to go check out a true local gem, serving Tallahassee since 1988. Now sing along with me, and I'll see you at Pentalta.
Our New Year's resolution is to help you upgrade to true luxury. So we put a bonus on the all-new 2025 QX80. If you drive any competitor's luxury vehicle, you can get $3,000 cash. Experience true luxury driving. Infinity of Tallahassee.
Siri, tell me a joke. How many apples grow on an apple tree? All of them.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Mac & More Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Mac & More Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
I've just been feeling so sluggish lately. You should try the Metamucil 2-Week Challenge. The Metamucil 2-Week Challenge? Yeah, Metamucil 4-in-1 Fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Start your daily routine now, and in 2 weeks, you could be feeling great. Well, it's been 2 weeks. How you feeling? Lighter and feeling great.
If you want to feel lighter by promoting digestive health, sign up to take the 2-week challenge at Metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Whether you're tinkering in your garage or tackling big projects, if you know the value of working with your hands, you know Harbor Freight. And you can be confident knowing that at Harbor Freight, you can get quality tools at prices that work just as hard as you do. Because the only thing more satisfying than a job well done is a job well done, well under budget. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Florida State returns 3 linebackers, as you well know. Omar Graham Jr. being one of them, Blake Nicholson being another, and Justin Cryer, who we like a lot. I like Justin. I really want all 3 of those guys, obviously, to emerge and continue to get better. Justin's a guy that we did the interview with Justin, and he was a lot of fun to talk to. He's tough, smart, and I think has a chance to be very productive.
And he wants to be the one that changes the reputation of the position at Florida State.
He does. Obviously, Blake's played a lot of football for Florida State to differing results, right? At times he's played well, at times he's played poorly. At times he's just lacked size to do some of what they wanted him to do. He did lead the team in tackles, second on the team in tackles last season, 52. And Omar Graham had 37 stops. So those are the 3 that are coming back. Stephon Thompson's the kid that came over from Nebraska, and he was with Tony White and played in that 3-3-5 scheme at Syracuse and then went to Nebraska. He has started more than 20 games in his college football career. He was really, really good in 2021, had 79 tackles, 6 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles, by the way. So this is a 6th year for him and playing college football. So 6-year senior with almost 200 tackles under his belt. That was the one you kind of felt like, given knowledge of scheme, maturity, production, that was the home run you had to hit. He's going to help you both on the field and in the classroom, meaning the teaching of this scheme.
Yeah, look, also in an age where you have green dots in college football, I mean, he has to be the leader in the clubhouse.
One would think.
Stephon Thompson would have the green dot to communicate in the checks. That's, I belabored this point with Tatum Bethune making such a difference when it came to communication from the sideline and relaying it to the front, the defensive lineman that is in front of him, and then his compatriots at the second level. You need to have that guy again. And if it's Stephon Thompson, then he's worth his weight in gold. Even if it's not, and he gets guys prepped and spring goes smoother for him being on campus and he's a rotational piece instead of your anchor, that's just fine too. But we'll see. It's an interesting room because also you do have a couple of kids with outside shots in Hickman Collins, but Jaden Parrish, impressive body type. Again, you get a new set of eyes and a new set of development
to assess
skills.
those players, yeah.
Yeah, and it's twofold. John Papuchis is now the position coach. Tony White is going to be heavily involved with the linebackers, I would imagine, because he's got people he knows running the defensive line and then also the safeties in the defensive backfield. So where's Tony going to spend his time? My guess would be at the linebacker position.
Elijah Herring, the other big name, obviously, that Florida State brought in, and he was a guy that before last season, when this process was playing out, I really wanted him. In essence, it was a no-go. Randy didn't like Elijah Herring or as a prospect, and so we didn't get him. And he went on to Memphis. Now, 2 seasons at Tennessee, 1 at Memphis. He has started 23 of 37 games in college, 151 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 6 sacks to boot. He was really good at Tennessee in 2023, had 80 tackles, and I would think he's going to come here to start without question. And that kind of production is what we've been describing a lot. In terms of the focus changing and shifting away from, hey, this guy's got potential, to we've seen him produce in college. I know he can play.
Well, and he helps create competent, real competition for the rotation. And that's, I agree with you. If you're putting live odds on it, he's minus money to be a starter for you.
Yeah.
But, if you brought in nobody, or you brought in just the young kid from North Carolina,
Caleb Lavalley.
Yeah, Lavalley, whatever it is.
Lavalley, yeah.
We'll learn it as he gets better, because that's what happens. You play better, we learn your name. Let's just say he was the only guy you brought in. Okay, you'd be excited about the get, but when you're talking about competition and battling for jobs, especially if you can have 3 linebackers on the field for a lot of your sets, man, that doesn't push it the way it does when you bring a Stephon Thompson in or a Herring in, because now somebody who's on the bench you think is a pretty good player on a given down. It's 1st and 10. You do have 3 linebackers out there. Your 4th guy Could be Graham. It could be LaValle. It could be Juice. It could be Stephon Thompson. No matter who it is, at that point you say, I like the room a little bit better because now this past season, the year prior, if the third guy came off the bench, you thought, I don't know, situational player at best. Big difference.
LaValle, by the way, was recruited when he was coming out of high school by Florida. He was recruited by, obviously, North Carolina, whom he signed with. But he was recruited to the Big Ten, a couple schools there, Northwestern being one of them, which I bring that up because they've had good linebacker play over the years. And he was recruited by Wake Forest, and we offered him at the time too. So, you know, he had some suitors, some pretty big name suitors, and he went to North Carolina, 2 seasons there, got his chance to start in the bowl game, had 9 tackles, was very good in that bowl game, stood out to the point where some of their folks were tweeting about the future was bright for him. And 2 hours after the game ended, he put his name in the portal.
No, the sun is brighter in Florida than it is in North Carolina.
It's a beautiful thing, right? So there it is. We'll see.
That's another great question for Tony White as this thing goes along. Not all linebacker responsibilities are created equal, and not all body types for the positions are the same. Inside linebackers tend to be stockier, but in a 3-3-5, let's just say that you do play some of that some of the time. What responsibilities would a linebacker have in that set versus a 4-man set? What more agility do you need, or coverage skills, or stoutness, because you don't have as many linemen up in front of you? Do you need to have a stouter body type at one of those positions? So if you can slot body types and skill sets in for each position, how would you do it? Because we do have a variety of players. Some of these linebackers we brought in are those shorter and more stout types. Meanwhile, Blake Nicholson is more of a coverage linebacker. So where would
really
he
run?
slot in?
Yeah, he can really run. He's had a hard time against the run, but he can really run. If he gets bigger, I think his problems will be solved with the run stuff, because he diagnosed it better last year than he had previous. I mean, obviously, we liked him because he could go.
Yeah, he could
really
flip your
go.
hips and run with somebody. Yeah.
He was almost like a glorified safety for a while there. But
in truth, look, if you've got a running back on a linebacker in this system, in Fuller's system, it's advantage offense.
Oh, of course.
It's still going to be advantage offense, but you just want guys to be more competent. And then if you do play a zone, you want them to have the wherewithal that you don't have to stand on that blade of grass because that's where it says to stand on the whiteboard. Do you have some instincts about you?
How many times we watch them like, I think they're taught that patch of grass is the only place they can go.
Or the depth of your drop is going to be different in a goal line set or a 3rd and 4th and short than it is on 1st and 10. Can we get up closer to the line of scrimmage? Those type of instincts would go a long way.
Cornbread makes organic THC gummies that are 100% legal. How about them apples? Perhaps you're going through dry January and you need some alternatives. You need a little help to get you through dry January, say. So you can swap alcohol for a guilt-free option. That's right. You can try America's only USDA organic THC gummy. That's right. Real THC. No synthetics here, Tommy. We're talking about the good stuff to help you through your dry January. 100% legal hemp. There you go. Here's how you can save 30%. Big time. This is cool stuff. Whether you're doing dry January or just looking for a healthier way to relax and have a guilt-free good time, try Cornbread's THC gummies right now. Jeff Cameron Show listeners can save 30% on their first order. Boom. 30%. They're practically giving it away. Head to cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Use code WARCHANT at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Code WARCHANT. Cornbread Hemp. This is the good life.
It's 30%.
Yeah, 30% off, buddy.
Not a bad saving there.
It's a very good saving. Are you doing some sort of thing on the? Oh, I didn't see it. I was clicking back over here to see if you were doing something funny.
Oh no.
I thought you were gonna have some sort of.
One thing I was gonna say that I thought was kind of funny was it looked like at times our defense played after enjoying a gummy, versus having there's a little bit of passivity to it. You'd rather have
a lot of passivity to it, unfortunately.
You'd rather have like a Red Bull defense than a cornbread hemp gummy defense,
Next year, I think, and I thought a lot of things that I was wrong about this past year. So I will allow for the fact that I could be wrong, but I sure hope not. And I think the evidence, context clues suggest, Tom, and I'm not on any cornbread hemp right now.
Okay.
As I say this.
Nice disclaimer.
Yeah. I would tell you that I think our defense is going to be much better. I'm not telling you our defense is going to be elite. I'm telling you our defense is going to be much better. They're going to look coordinated. There you go. I'll give you that. They're going to look coordinated.
What you want is for a series to end and the punter to be coming on the field, and you don't say, "Oh, you missed a wide open guy there. Thank God." Instead, it's the energy. Go, okay,
yeah,
all right,
took it away, shut it down.
Look at us swarm to the football,
tackling well today, guys. How about that? You know, the thing I like about our defense, Tom, they tackle. They really come up and tackle. You might have a heart attack if we utter those phrases.
Look how many helmets there are there.
Man.
5 speared helmets around the football.
This guy has to feel like he's just overwhelmed the second he touches the ball. They're coordinated. Look at him. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
4 people were involved and at least 2 were hurt after a multi-vehicle crash along Crawfordville Highway and Trumpet Lane Tuesday afternoon. According to a spokesperson from Florida Highway Patrol, a Volvo, Nissan, Ford F-250, and Lexus were involved in the crash. FHP said at least 1 vehicle rolled over during the crash. At least 2 people were hospitalized following the crash, with 1 in critical condition but stable as of Tuesday evening. It is currently unclear what caused the crash. It is under investigation. Severe damage was left to a home on Government Farm Road Tuesday afternoon in Jefferson County after the kitchen caught fire. The incident unfolded around noon. Firefighters responded to the home on Government Farm Road and found heavy smoke. The fire was contained to the kitchen. However, the home sustained smoke and heat damage throughout the residence. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by McLemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
Now, here's your Paul's Termite and Pest Control Tallahassee weather report.
Rain chances to start off the week, then clearing out and warmer by the end of the week ahead of another system. Highs in the 50s for most of the week with lows in the 30s. Highs back in the 60s for Friday. Tonight, a slight chance of rain, then clearing out, low of 35. Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high of 57, low of 37. Partly sunny on Wednesday with a high of 55. From Real Talk 93.3, this is Danielle Kelly.
For the elimination of termites, pests, and for a greener lawn too, call Paul's. They'll get them all.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have new state-of-the-art roll formers that produce the highest quality Versa panel, PBR panel, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business, ready to offer you the best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today, 850-536-9123, or visit us online at metalroofing.net.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avastin-capsid Pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Hank Lebioda on the leaderboard at the Corn Ferry event in the Bahamas. There you go, Brett. Thank you for letting me know. Adam says, I don't care about the defense. If we don't get an offense, we'll be the next Iowa. Ooh, if we play defense like Iowa. Wouldn't that be something, Adam?
That would be a drastic improvement.
Oh, yes, it would be. Yes, it would be, buddy. Man, I love watching their safeties. Holy moly. Watch Iowa's defense, generally speaking, most years, most every year, and watch the way their safeties play. It takes your breath away. They fly up with reckless abandon. Don't you dare try to get the outside on me. I'm coming up and bust that ass. It's awesome. It is so fun to watch. And the second they see it, they read it quick, and it is hair on fire.
And to your point, last week, that was what you saw with Notre Dame and Penn State, especially Penn State.
Oh, they play good defense there.
Defense.
Well, you saw that Clemson's trying to hire.
Yeah, they're closing in on it.
It's an interesting decision from that DC, though. You leave Penn State to go to Clemson?
I think there's family in the Carolinas.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Has to be. There's zero chance you would do that. The money.
Well, I mean, that's both now of our ACC rivals getting new defensive coordinators in the last couple of days. If it's in fact closed. This morning, I thought it was pretty much done, but I haven't checked this afternoon. But Miami gets Minnesota's defensive coordinator, and then Penn State's coordinator heads down to Clemson. So both of those schools are undergoing a defensive overhaul, and that's after Dabo finally started to take some transfers, including the edge from Purdue. That was one of the top edges available in the draft. Or in the transfer portal, excuse me.
By the way, I get this, but I don't understand the timing of it, and it's almost as if he realizes that he completely screwed up at the time. You see Mario Cristobal today come out and defend Cam Ward, which, fine. You should have done it originally. First of all, I don't even know why Cam Ward played in the damn game, other than maybe to break that record, I guess.
There it is.
But Cristobal, on the notion, this came from a post that Tim Reynolds, I don't know who Tim Reynolds is, but I'm giving him credit. Sorry, and that's not a knock on Tim Reynolds. That's maybe a knock on me. He's an AP NBA writer and a whole bunch of other stuff. That's what his Twitter bio says. So he's a journalist. He gave basically when on the notion that Cam Ward quit on Miami, Cristobal said, quote unquote, bull bleep. Okay. He gave a very impassioned defense against what he called a false narrative, and that the decision on the bowl game was predetermined based on his likely status as the number one pick. Now, okay, I believe that's true. I believe that was a pregame decision that the two had discussed, and that it was planned all along for him to not play in the second half of that football game. So why, when you were asked about it after the game, did you not just say that? Why did you say, well, I prefer to keep our conversations private?
Yeah, because I don't think it was true. I don't believe it.
Right. My point would be this. One way or the other. You can't do what he did. He left him out to dry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's a horrible look for anybody that's contemplating going to play at Miami. I will say that. Now, it didn't hurt him with Carson Beck because they gave him $3 million to go play. But what are you doing? Why? So he says this about Cam Ward later on. His play was spectacular. I think all the other stuff, the intangibles, the behind-the-scenes stuff, the getting to the bringing players together, galvanizing our team, galvanizing our program. If you watch the tape, teach the tape, he does all the things right. He goes on and on, talks about how he was exemplary and he loves him. Well, then why didn't you effing defend him when you were asked this question after the game?
Because he's full of crap. It's Occam's razor here, yeah? I mean, that he didn't know was coming. He was put off by it. He took it personally. And
he let them hang out in the dry. Yeah.
And because they lost, he's feeling it all the more in that moment that he's asked the question.
He's pissed.
And he doesn't want to compartmentalize it. He wants to air out the frustration without going the whole distance. And now he realizes that was an emotional decision.
I'm sure he was told it was a terrible look. And I would imagine if I were Cam Ward, I would have had something to say about it too.
Probably so.
That struck me as incredibly odd. And now we're going to circle back. Oh, he's a great kid. Love him. He did everything right. No, that was just false narrative. Well, you could have helped dispel the false narrative, which was born after you were asked the question and you refused to give an answer.
Should have just waited till pro day at this point. That's more high profile time to dispel things than January 13th, just this nondescript Monday.
Very, very, very weird, man. I read that.
It's nice to see, though, isn't it?
Oh, well, he can't get out of his own way. Look, they are willing to spend gobs of money to get Miami back to where they think it should be and where it used to be, right? They want to be a perennial power. They'd like to win the ACC for starters. They never have. Not once. And they've played for it once. They'd like to get to the conference championship game and win it at some point. And they're spending to that end. They want to be a perennial playoff team. Well, kudos. We want our program to do the same. We want everybody who, if you are a Nole and you can help make sure that's our reality, everybody's all in, right? We're hoping that's the case. But he blows games with ineptitude on repeated opportunities to learn from previous mistakes, kicking field goals to go up 6 with that defense. Did it more on multiple occasions this year. We know about his time management issues. We know about not taking the knee. We know about all the things. And then it's stuff like this. This is so easy. This is a layup.
This is Joe Girardi. What is wrong with people? This whole situation was easy.
It doesn't even have to be an issue. It could have. It strikes me as incredibly odd.
Yeah, this reminds me in its own way, very different circumstance, but a coach creating an issue where there is none. When Monken called a beautiful game for the Buccaneers under head coach Dirk Cutter.
Yeah.
And the media asks, how happy are you for Monken today and what the offense
he ran
did?
the Buccaneers offense.
Right. Well, what are you talking about? He ran the Bucs offense. It's not his offense.
Yeah.
He ran the Bucs offense. Hey, man, we're just asking for a quick 8-word blurb where you say, I'm so proud that he got his opportunity to shine, said Dirk Cutter, instead of the indignant response.
Yeah.
You're mad that we won.
Well, it was weird because his response was indefensible.
Correct.
And
it's like in this situation, just make the right turn. You don't need to make 3 lefts. Don't go past the intersection. Turn now.
Sometimes, when you get asked a question like that, you have to have heard the answer in your head before you give it. Right. It's not very difficult if you practice that. Because listen, you're allowed to think on the question. You don't have to just spit something out for the sake of it. So that's a very simple question, I know, and you probably shouldn't have to ruminate too long, but somebody asks you the question and you go, in your head, you're triggered. You feel that, you're mad because you know what's being insinuated perhaps by that question. And then you're bigger than that because you're the leader of the team. You're the head coach. So what you do is you take a step back and you go, I'm so happy for Todd. He's a good guy, works really hard. That's why we brought him in. We've always thought really highly of him, and he got a chance today and obviously did a great job. So I'm really happy. We're done.
Right.
Next question.
Yeah.
It's over just like that.
But what it gives a window into is a lack of ability to, in the heat of a moment, at least it's in you to lay an egg in that situation.
Yeah.
When it comes down to making a decision. Now, we already knew that about Mario's on-field management, but this is just further confirmation. In a separate setting, similar circumstances, pressure applied, how do you respond?
Right.
And it's improperly. It's wonderful. It's great news. Keep going. Get asked about it again a week from now and give me a different story, something that's in the middle. Please make this a thing so that when we get to draft coverage,
it'd be great, yeah.
And he gets taken first or second, you get ripped by the NFL crew that's breaking down his selection.
It's weird, by the way. I will tell you this. When we interviewed Mario in Charlotte, first of all, I enjoyed the interview. And I thought he was pretty straightforward. I thought he was put together, buttoned up, seemed to have it together. I asked him specifically about making that many coaching changes in an offseason so soon after having taken the head job. I mean, that's kind of a shot.
Yeah.
And he got the question, understood what was being asked, read between the lines, and answered very succinctly.
Oh, it was good. It was a good answer.
It was a very good answer.
That tells you that they had to have put in no fewer than 5 hours of prep. Right? I mean, that has to be. We had installation meetings.
You're going to get asked a lot about the fact that you've so soon had to replace a lot of your assistants that you originally chose.
We've had a walkthrough.
Well, Mike won't need such training because he's pretty good with it, but he's going to get asked.
Oh.
I mean, imagine, listen, Mike knows what's coming.
And also the Triangle media is going to ask him because they hate Florida State's guts anyway.
Yes. Oh, buddy, that ACC kickoff in Charlotte is going to be hell for him and anybody associated with Florida State.
No, it's his penance. It's part of the penance.
Oh, but I'll be interested to hear because there's usually a central theme. There's a through line to what they do. They have a game plan, and you can hear it because they do so many interviews after a while. You're like, oh, these were the talking points. This is what he was hoping to get across.
What went wrong? They're going to ask. I mean, it's going to be so far in the past, and he'll be able to deflect on that one. So what happened last year? I think there's going to be several of the questions he gets during the breakout.
But I think, and listen, this is another topic for another day because it's an interesting one. Because we're big on, JCS PR firm stuff.
We are for hire. You will be polished as hell.
I mean, because I'll ask you exactly what they're going to ask you, and we can go through this. But the number one thing you can do, and I think he's good at it if he just commits to it and believes in it and doesn't get, we don't need to be old-timey televangelists. Let's just have a conversation here because you got to own it. The easiest way is to really kind of own that conversation and steer it the way you want it to go is to not be on the defensive and deflected. You have to just be like, oh, well, obviously that was a nightmare. And, we had to take a real long look at the entirety of what we were doing, everything. That includes me. I had to reassess some things that I thought I got right. Clearly I got wrong. We've made requisite changes, and obviously you've seen the change in our staff, and we're really excited about the opportunity to get to,
I can't wait to get back on the football field.
Oh.
How soon can you get to say the words, I can't wait to get back out there on the football field?
Yeah, there it is.
And that's how you advance it, because you can't ask a follow-up on that.
No. And you can't ask a follow-up to needle or agitate if the person owns the failure. That's the whole thing.
Yep. Own it in as few words as possible.
Yeah, and then move forward.
And then advance the discussion. Yeah.
Good work out of you. Appreciate you, everybody. You have a lovely rest of your day into the evening. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Sort of a hodgepodge deal. Ira's in Nashville, so we're going to do some sort of weird hybrid Seminole Headlines thing. Take care. Peace.